Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, episode 69. Nice. I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Jahananan.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Podcast and Fresh Out the Box. I'm happy to be here. I've been watching all these kind of wintry shows, getting all winter vibed up, getting Christmas injected straight into my ocular DNA.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhouse, and Jahan, you beat me to the punch here. I was ready to unveil that this was officially episode 69, and you beat me to it. And I was expecting you both to have a barrage of jokes that were going to make me angry and mad that we even podcasted tonight. And I think now I'm making a bigger deal of it than either of you were planning to. So here we are.
That. We're not like that.
No, we're very mature.
Why don't you fucking grow up?
So here we are, and just didn't realize that the last official episode we put out was the Black Panther Wakanda Forever discussion, and it's just because that was right before Thanksgiving, and life happens. So we've had Thanksgiving and holidays and family stuff, and I was traveling for a week, and we just had to put off the show, but we're back, at least for now. Our plan is we're going to do a little bit of catching up here on episode 69. The next episode of the podcast,
nice.
Episode 70, will be our top fives of the year.
69.
Wait.
You know what that also means, except besides just the number? Because it means like a sex thing, I found out.
It's a sex thing?
Yeah, man, it is. Here, use your imagination, but look at my hands. This one is a 9, and this one's a 6. And so imagine people...
Those are pretty good 6s and 9s, buddy.
Thanks, man. I've been practicing doing 69 hands all day. I knew we'd be having this podcast
Oh, you
tonight.
do? You like spoon?
Yeah, you spoon, but with your mouths and privates.
Bye, Drew.
We did it! We did it! We made Drew quit the show! We made Drew quit the show! We made Drew quit the show!
We made Drew quit the show! We made Drew quit the show!
We made Drew quit the show! We made Drew quit the show! Welcome back, Drew.
Was that more what you were expecting?
Are we done? Are we done now?
Yes. Well, I just hate to disappoint, Drew.
I feel like I haven't even gotten started. It's going to be episode 69 the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
This is for sure living up more to reputation,
episode 69,
and to expectation. I don't even know where I left off. I think I was going to say that next episode we were doing our top fives of the year, so this was going to be a nice catch up for some of the things we've been watching over the past month or been checking out that maybe won't make our top fives, maybe some that will. We'll have to see, but yeah, that's where we're at. That's what's happening before all of that just previously happened.
All I heard was 69, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of 69,
your mom's in town.
A new Avatar movie came out this weekend.
Nice.
You heard of it? Avatar?
Yeah.
It's a weird transition. All right, go for it.
Oh, is it because of the hair sex?
I was going to say they got the hair braids that have the things, so, you know.
I thought there was going to be a bunch of ass eating in the new Avatar.
I have seen it, and I can say that there is not.
Oh, boy.
Sorry if that's a spoiler or
that's
disappointment
why he's
for
already
anyone.
been greenlit for 3 and 4, because eventually they can build that direction, so not all hope is lost.
So here's the thing with Avatar. We're not doing a full episode devoted to it just because, frankly, Avatar's Avatar. I don't know, like, we've done that with the Marvel movies, but Avatar, it's kind of just, it's an anomaly, right? I mean, yes, the first one's the highest grossing movie of all time. It's now 13 years later. There's a sequel coming out, and I feel like it's probably going to do well in the box office, but I think from talking to both of you in the lead up to the show, it's definitely not something y'all were necessarily excited for. Is that?
So I was willing to see it, but I've heard some pretty mixed things about it, and like it's not a priority for me. I'm not that excited about it. We actually talked about it the other night and kind of pulled apart Avatar. We're like, yeah, Avatar does kind of suck.
On a stream or just in general, like a family discussion?
Oh, while me and Gary were playing Darktide with Keon and Aaron, we were just talking trash about Avatar.
Yeah, I never realized that it had the white hero savior syndrome before. It never clicked.
Yeah,
That of all the people to save this alien race, one has to be a human, 2 has to be a guy, and 3, of course, it's a white guy to have everything else. And I'm sure all this shit's been pointed out, but I just never. There was a lot of things that I knew were crappy, that Jahan knew were crappy, and then when we started talking, we were like, oh no, it's worse than I thought because of the things that you figured out were bad. Not to shit on Avatar, but it's not our favorite series. That's all I'm saying.
To be honest, the white savior thing is something that like James Cameron kind of talked about, over a decade ago when doing press for Avatar. He didn't say like, yeah, I've got a white savior complex, but it's like he talked about it without realizing that's what he was saying. But that being said, I feel like it's kind of a recurring theme in some of his movies in the past. But yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a problem with the first one. And then of course there's all the people that just like to poke fun at like, oh, it's just Dances with Wolves and oh, Unobtainium. And yes, there are a lot of jokes that can
really
be made.
care that it's just Dances with Wolves because everything else is just Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet. So I don't give a fuck if it's just the same story as something else. Everything is just something else.
But here's the thing with Avatars. I do remember I was in college when the first one came out, and I remember going to see it with little to no expectations. And I remember leaving thinking that was pretty cool. I thought it was cool at the time, and I think
Same.
it came out on Blu-ray, and I rewatched it. I wasn't like blown away like it's the best movie of all time by any means, and I was surprised even back then that it went on to gross as much as it did at the box office. But I've rewatched it, and for me, honestly, I think it does kind of hold up. Even the technology of it, the effects of it, hold up 13 years later. And it's just interesting. Obviously, it played really well overseas, and that's what led to it making as much money as it did. Here's what I think is really interesting about the new one. I'm going to speak about it here in general because I know both of you haven't seen it and I don't want to spoil anything in it. However, that's the thing that's interesting is it's not necessarily okay, we live in the world now of the MCU and the big franchise IP. Those are the movies making a lot of money at the box office that people rush out to see. And especially with the MCU, the spoiler culture around those movies is intense. Like, I felt like I needed to see Black Panther Wakanda Forever the weekend that it came out for fear that something's going to get spoiled in it for me that I would rather see for myself for the first time. Or even Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness or whatever. All these and the Marvel weekly shows, things happen and it becomes such a big part of pop culture and the conversation that you feel like you have to watch it so that you don't get spoiled. And the new Avatar movie isn't like that. Like, it's not necessarily something where, you won't believe what Jake Sully does in the new Avatar movie. Like, no, it's not like that. It's really just more of, it's just an incredible blockbuster that you just have to see on the big screen, I guess is really what it comes down to. There's, in Avatar The Way of Water, when you see the effects and everything, first off, they're even better than the first one. You completely forget that you're watching CG creatures and, whether it's the Na'vi or whether it's all the water, the ocean life and things that are happening on Pandora. It all looks incredibly real, and it makes sense why the production time has taken so long because it all looks so great. But the biggest thing for me, a huge takeaway, was having just seen Black Panther Wakanda Forever a month ago, where the main battle or like the climax of that movie takes place in the water on a giant boat and things, and that movie looks like shit compared to what I just saw in Avatar: The Way of Water. Like, everything in it looks so good, and everything, the action, to make some great action set pieces, and it's no different in this one. The last hour of Avatar: The Way of Water is just like, is jaw dropping. Like, it is insane and incredible. And I guess the difference is, yeah, it looks so good and everything, but it took so long to do that. Marvel's cranking out 4 movies a year, or more or less, plus the TV shows, so it makes sense that they get churned out faster. They're not spending years and years working on these special effects, so it is what it is. So I don't know. All these thoughts were swirling around in my head when seeing Avatar: The Way of Water, and like, I guess which. Luckily, we're in a world where we can have both, right? Like, we get the Marvel movies every year, and then you get an Avatar that comes out every 13 years, or whatever it is, and you get the best of both worlds. But man, did it look incredible! I really was blown away by it. It's definitely not a movie that the plot and the characters and things like that are gonna knock you out of the park. It's not that kind of movie. It's visual spectacle. It's what it is.
So
Once again,
here's kind of what I was wondering, and maybe you'll help inform me, or maybe you'll help inform anybody else listening. I don't, I didn't want to see the movie, because I'll just wait for it, basically. And in my mind, it's CG people, it's CG plants, it's CG animals, and nothing's real and nothing exists. And so it's really just, I thought, was kind of a silly thing to go see, where there's not this big story that's going to be a big spoiler or something we can talk about. It's just sort of, I don't know. And then I started to think about it more. And the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I guess that makes it more like an art piece. It is more artsy in a way. It's like something you'd go to a museum and go, look at this because it's pretty and it moves and it's got some modicum of decent story that's not just total brain rot, and the acting's good enough. Maybe I just need to think about it as like a moving piece of art instead of a James Cameron movie. I might just be viewing it wrong, I think.
I think, if you follow the production of it, what's fascinating is, obviously all the underwater stuff in The Way of Water was actually filmed in giant water tanks. So the actors are actually underwater doing motion capture. There's like literally like motion capture balls on the surface of the water in the tanks. So it all looks incredible. And when you're watching them swim and you see how realistic things look, I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, they're basically acting in a warehouse, right? They're in motion capture suits.
Right, and
but
everything's all cheesy and made up and fake. So, like, is it cool or is it not cool? And then, if they're doing all the real swimming and stuff in a warehouse, is this sort of like watching a Cirque du Soleil movie or show? Is it performance? And then, James Cameron's not the one sitting behind a computer designing all this stuff with CG art, right? He's got hundreds of concept artists. So, like, is this James Cameron's? Is this his work? Did he create this? I'm just in a weird place about it mentally and emotionally, and I was hoping maybe you could shed some light on that and help me maybe break through.
he is a perfectionist, and he is somewhat of a control freak. And so I do think he is the type to kind of have the final say over every little detail. He's that kind of filmmaker. So yes, I'm sure there are artists that he's describing what he's envisioning, and then they're making that come to life. But I really do think a lot of this is what he claims to have just been in his head for years and years.
Yeah. Fun fact, Kate Winslet broke the on-set breath-holding record of Tom Cruise. His mission was 6 minutes during Mission Impossible. She held her breath for 7 minutes and 15 seconds.
Holy crap, that is awesome. Congrats to both of them.
That's bananas.
They got to put my boy David Blaine in a movie and see what's up. That dude could hold his breath for like 35 days.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, she apparently her first words when she came up for air were, "Am I dead?" So that's fun.
Yeah, I like that.
She thought she had died.
And yes, Kate Winslet is in this movie. You wouldn't even know that it was her if you didn't know that she's in the movie. It's not like a huge part, but she's essentially the female leader of the water tribe that's in it. And and so
It makes sense because she's so
You
good
know,
at
you
holding
know.
her breath. Yeah, it'd make.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the plot basically picks right up where the first one left off, and Jake Sully and Natiri have a family now, and then
Hold on,
several years
I
have
have an
gone
important
by.
aside that I think everybody's wondering. Everybody's going to Google it if I don't. Um, the world breath holding record was set March 2021 in Croatia. So relatively recently, it's been updated. 24 minutes and 37 seconds is the current
Jeez.
world record. It's 24 minutes
Jeez.
holding their breath.
Goodness.
That's pretty dope. That's a mutant. That's all that is. That's a mutation.
An impressive 7.5 minutes for Kate Winslet is 1/3 of the world record, and I come nowhere close to that. I probably have like 20 seconds in me right now.
Let's all hold our breath. It makes good podcasting.
It's such a good podcast. Everyone driving down the road, just hold your breath. See how
No,
long you can do it.
no.
And if you pass out at the wheel, we accept no responsibility.
I do agree with that part.
I was going to go into some of the plot of Avatar The Way of Water, but I don't really think it's necessary in hindsight.
What's
but
your overall
there is a lot
number?
of water.
What do you say
What
out
was
of 5, out of 10? Out of 5 out of 10. What are you giving this?
I'm like a 4 out of 5. I'm like a 4
Okay.
out of 5.
So you're saying this one might be fresh out of the box.
I would say it's fresh out the box, at least for myself. I do think that this one is an improvement of the first one. Yeah, I thought it was really good. Spoiler alert, it's not on my top 5 of the year. I did not put it in my top 5 list that we'll do next episode. But I thought it was really solid. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you were on board for the first Avatar, you're probably going to find a lot of things to like about the new one. If you just outright rejected and hated the first one, I don't think that there's that much that's going to sway you in the new one to make you all of a sudden be on board for this franchise. But it's definitely, I know it's so cliche to say, but it definitely needs to be seen on the big screen. And I'm just interested to see what the hold's going to be. Because basically this movie came out this weekend and there's nothing coming out until February when Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania comes out. It's pretty much a desert in the movie landscape between now and then.
Speaking
and so
of desert in the movie landscape, I wanted to see The Mean One, the Grinch horror movie knockoff that just came out this year. It's called The Mean One. It's out now in theaters already. It's not showing in my town. But Avatar: Way of Water is, and I was like, "You sons of bees, man!" So
I would have assumed that The Mean One was one of those direct to video horror movies. Is it supposed to get a theatrical release?
It has a theatrical release, and it's not streaming anywhere. You can't download it, you can't rent it, you can't buy it streaming anywhere. It's on a theatrical run first, and that movie would get me off my ass and into theaters. And I tried. I looked it up. I would go. I'm going to keep checking and see if closer to Christmas they'll put it up, but I'm doubting it.
What
Like you
about
said,
Violent
it's not movie
Night?
season.
Violent Night, the David Harbour Santa slasher.
I don't know, maybe.
Well,
Violent Night. I really want to see that, but I didn't see any showtimes nearby, and I was bummed because I want to see it on my birthday. Because I usually see a movie on my birthday, and there's like nothing to watch. Might see Avatar.
It's like you see an Avatar.
Yeah, I might see Avatar. There's not much else, but Drew liked it, so it could be good.
yeah, I definitely recommend it, and I thought it was better than the first. I thought it looked incredible, and I thought that the first, it's the movie is essentially in 3 parts. It's like the first part is kind of picking up the plot of the last one. The second part
putting it down.
Is all the water. Here's all the water. Here's all the animals. Here's all the water. And then the third part is just one of the more incredible action set pieces.
Whenever the
and
humans
sequences
show
I've
up to
seen
take the
in a
water
movie.
away.
What
That's
was
where
that?
That's
What'd
where
you
the
say?
unobtainium
I
is.
said it's whenever the humans show up to take all the water away.
There are some.
We don't have to talk about Avatar anymore. We can move on.
Yeah, we can move on. We can definitely move on, especially since we have enough to catch up on. It did just come out this weekend. It's the sequel to the most the biggest box office of all time I couldn't not talk about it at least a bit. So
That's right.
Avatar, The Way of Water, it's good. Go see it.
What about this next one you've got on your list? I actually happened to peep my eyes on this one as well.
You did. You
Yeah.
watched Guillermo del Toro's animated Pinocchio movie on Netflix.
I was so sour on Disney's version that I didn't know if I
man.
was even going to hit go. I didn't know if it was going to happen. I didn't know if I had it in me. Luckily, Annie hit go. So once she hit go, it was on our TV, and then I watched it while I played Marvel Snap. So it may not have had my full attention, but I can certainly say it was better than the Disney version. Tenfold, 20-fold, 100-fold. This Guillermo del Toro version is totally watchable. I think it's worth your time. I wouldn't give it a high rating, but I'd say put it on.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought it was really solid, especially, I don't want to digress into all the stuff about the Zemeckis one on Disney Plus because that movie was bad. But the new one is good. I thought the Netflix one was good, and I love stop motion animation and this style, and of course Guillermo del Toro is a visionary, and I think that there's a lot of really cool design stuff here. It follows the source material. There's some new things
in this movie I thought was really James and the Giant Peachy. It definitely felt kind of not Nightmare Before Christmas claymation stop motion, but sort of that creepiness that James and the Giant Peach had with the deep rivets and cuts in the clay.
Yeah, I kind of saw, I just pulled up the picture because I didn't watch it yet. I'm going to, because I'm a big fan of Guillermo. But when I saw the picture, it does look like James and the Giant Peach. You're absolutely right.
It has a cool style. Like, the movie isn't scary, but it's just kind of dark. It just has like a dark tone, but it's never outright scary. Like, a kid could watch it, I think, and probably be fine. I mean, there's scarier imagery in The Nightmare Before Christmas, I think.
I would say that there's definitely the lesson, the don't talk to strangers lesson also for kids that Pinocchio had is like, don't trust that guy just because it's fun to dance on stage. Like, don't hang out with him. I thought there were some good lessons in this Pinocchio, and like I said, more watchable than the Disney version. So if you don't want to watch a Pinocchio from 1901, then you should watch Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Yeah, there's actual character development in it. Like, Geppetto is actually a character in this movie, whereas as much as I love Tom Hanks,
Jiminy Cricket really let me down. Not that Jiminy's name was Jiminy, but I did like the fairy godmother. So where they giveth, they taketh away. But I thought there were some big hits for sure in the GDT Pinocchio, which is on Netflix.
It is on Netflix.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of stuff with Netflix lately. Between this and the Cabinet of Curiosities,
Cabinet of Curiosities was more presented by, but not really produced, and definitely not directed.
Not directed. No.
So I think that one was a little misleading to throw his name on. But this one is much more a GDT project.
Fair. But I still liked it.
Yeah, I liked Pinocchio a lot. I think you'll agree when you see it.
Yeah. Then the other movies I have kind of a few here back to back of just ones I've seen over the holidays, over Thanksgiving, and things that are worth noting. Like I reviewed Devotion for Nerdtropolis, but that's like a Flyboys Korean War drama with oh my gosh, I'm having my brain just absolutely stopped working. It has Glenn Powell in it, and it has Jonathan Majors in it. So Glenn Powell, who was actually just in Top Gun Maverick, and Jonathan Majors, who we know is about to have a huge year in 2023, between playing Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and playing the adversary in Creed 3. Jonathan Majors is in it, and it's just an absolutely fine military Flyboys drama that's perfect for Thanksgiving. It's like the type of movie you take your dad to. That's Devotion. So
I need
not
more
really
of those.
There's not that much else to say about it. I do think that Glenn Powell is really good. I like him in Top Gun Maverick, and he's one of those stars that just hasn't really hit it as big as anybody who's a fan of him would hope he would have at this point. But hopefully stuff like this will help.
Yeah,
So,
but Majors
Devotion.
is killing it though.
Oh yeah, Jonathan
I'm a
Majors
huge fan
is
of
great.
his.
And to be fair, in Devotion, like the part that he played could have been such a nothing role, but he has so much gravitas and he's such a great actor that he brought so much more to this little movie to come out over the Thanksgiving holiday that it could have been way less, and he elevated it for sure.
It could have been less is not a shining review. What do you give this piece of could have been worse?
It's like a solid 5 or 6 out of 10. Like, it's just sitting there right in middle of the road. Maybe I'll bump it to a 6 just because Majors is so good. So 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10, whatever scale you want to use.
If it's on a streaming platform in the future, do you tell somebody to click it or just watch something else?
It depends on the scenario. There's so much stuff on there. If you're like looking for a good family movie night, yeah, sure. But if you're, there's probably better stuff you can find. Put it that way. And then Emancipation. I'm just going to note because this seems to have definitely come out with a whimper. This is relevant because it is an Antoine Fuqua drama that just came out on Apple TV Plus. It's an Apple TV Plus original. But it's Will Smith's big movie that it's his first movie to come out since he won his Oscar and had his highest and lowest moment in the same night. And he's working the press circuit. He's out there promoting this movie. He's working red carpets. He's still doing his thing. This is for sure in the awards conversation, but I think that Will Smith's going to be hard pressed to earn a nomination after this past year. But he's really good in it. I'm not going to lie. He's good in it. It's I haven't even said what this is. It's a Civil War slave drama, with Will Smith. And he's never really done that kind of movie before, and he's very, very good in it. If you've seen there's a picture that circulated during the Civil War and of Gordon, and he was a slave and he had his back turned to the camera and his back is just horribly whipped, like, or so badly scarred. I don't know if y'all have ever seen that picture. If you search
Probably.
Civil War Gordon, the picture will come up. It was very famous and one of the most widely circulated photos during that time period that caused a lot of people to join the abolitionist movement and everything. So anyway, this is basically a movie of that. Will Smith plays that character, but he's named Peter in the movie. And it's just all about him escaping from slavery. And as they hear that Lincoln has supposedly freed the slaves, he tries to make his way through the swamps of Louisiana to Baton Rouge, where he can hopefully reach freedom. And in the most unsurprising bit of casting I've maybe ever seen in my life, Ben Foster is in this as an abusive slave owner. So, go figure.
I've always said
he's got the voice.
Typecast. At least getting typecast is getting cast. You know what I mean? So I don't think Ben Foster's bank account minds that he played a racist.
Right. So anyway, that's Emancipation. It's fine. Will Smith is good in it, but I don't think that there's going to be much beyond just because of there's some other big contenders in the awards race, and just with the year that Will Smith has had, I don't think the Academy is going to give him a nomination, especially when he can't even be at the ceremony anyway.
He's going to have to video in.
He can still be nominated technically. He just can't be there in person.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I was actually unsure about how to feel about that one. Because I want to watch it, but I might check it out. Yeah, definitely.
No, I just still have a lot of mixed feelings on the Will Smith stuff that I don't want to take the conversation that road to. I
mean, that's fair.
Because
I'm a big Will Smith fan from all the way back, like most of us are. Not Gary, but a lot of people
lost in the politics of it, though. So if he made a mistake last year, but if he made a great movie this year, you're looking at this year's best movies and best actors. Making a mistake last year is a political approach to that system. In my opinion, everyone can think what they will, but if he's the best actor, he's the best actor. regardless of what mistake he made last year. He should be forgiven on that and judged solely on his acting. That's the whole point.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, he should be judged solely on his acting, but definitely understand why he can't physically be there.
Right.
No, yeah, I'm a Will Smith fan from, childhood. And, it sucks what he did, but he kind of lost me before that with some of the movies he was in, like that terrible movie he was in with his son and, like, stuff like that. But, getting your son into acting, I guess, and, like, making him super rich is
admirable. Rey Mysterio's cut some really bad promos trying to make Dominic Mysterio relevant, so I totally get it. Will Smith can drop some bad promos to try to get Jaden up and coming. It's totally allowed.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put it this way. If you're a fan of Will Smith and his acting, and the incident at the Oscars this past year isn't going to distract you or anything, then I'd say watch it. He's really good in it, and that's it. But however,
I mean,
this
I'd
is like
Chris Rock.
It's nearly a 2-hour and 20-minute movie. It's a long slave drama. That's what you're getting into.
And then the last that if Chris Rock talked crap about Jenny, which is Jahan's significant other, that Jahan might slap Chris Rock in the face.
Hey, maybe.
Not would, but might.
Hey,
and
Chris
that's
Rock,
just enough for me to
challenge you to a celebrity fight.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm very out of shape, so you have a chance.
Which celebrity are you going to pick to fight for you? Because you're not a celebrity, so you're going to have to pick someone to fight in your stead.
I'm like, I'm a celebrity. I have a podcast. That's all it takes.
I'm with Jahan on this.
Okay. All right.
He can volunteer as tribute.
Yeah, volunteer tribute.
Sounds like I've been out there.
But if I can't, Jennifer Lawrence.
I would pick John Lovitz.
That's a good pick. I like John Lovitz.
Thank you.
It's time to fight. I can't do his voice, but who can?
Drew, did you watch anything else that's worth talking about?
Yes, I've been trying to transition for a while here, and y'all just sometimes make it a little difficult.
Oh, I watched this next one too, Clerks 3. Oh, I loved Clerks 3. Now, one of my favorite parts about it is I didn't realize until about maybe 30 minutes in that Clerks 3 was the making of Clerks, which I thought was really awesome. I thought it was a really cool way to portray that story.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So I watched it, and Gary, did you watch Jay and Silent Bob Reboot?
Yeah, of course I did. Yes, absolutely. I'm a Kevin Smith fanboy, baby.
Yeah, so I am too, or I have been for a long time, and I love Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Like, that, of course, it came out in the prime of middle school for us, so naturally we thought it was the funniest thing to ever exist. And I liked Clerks 2 when it came out, and again, I think we were in high school at that point, so I thought Clerks 2 was funny.
She did not like Clerks 2.
In our defense, Rosario Dawson got mayonnaise in her hoo-ha in that movie, so
I have not rewatched it. I definitely don't remember.
It didn't happen on camera, but they talk about it. So
interesting. Well, anyway, Clerks. I was just gonna say when Jay and Silent Bob Reboot came out, I was excited for it, and I was super underwhelmed by that movie. Like, I thought it was kind of a struggle. As much as I love Kevin Smith, it seemed like the biggest kind of foray into him. Just like, I don't know how to even put it in words.
You want to talk about making a crappy promo to try to promote your kid? Look no further than the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Yes. It's just the most, like, I feel like it almost panders to fans of the View Askew verse, and it's pretty low-hanging fruit. And so I was a little hesitant after my experience with Jay and Silent Bob Reboot going into Clerks 3, but I can say that Clerks 3 is definitely better than Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and I liked it.
The thing that I didn't like about Jay and Silent Bob Reboot started to scare me during Clerks. Because Jay and Silent Bob Reboot was like a shot-for-shot remake of the original. But it was like different scenes, but basically the dialogue, the interactions, and the exchanges were the same. And the movie was basically on the exact same line of what happened. Clerks started that way. It started to be like Clerks 3 started to be very on beat for what Clerks 1 was. But then I realized, right, that the further this goes on, the movie kind of picks up this neat twist and the story becomes a lot more interesting. All the characters become a lot more rich. If you're someone who hates Randall, like everyone should, or if you're someone who loves Randall, like nobody should, I think you're going to love Clerks 3. It has great Randall character building moments to kind of help you deal with why he's such an insufferable ass. And you find out that Clerks is his passion project. After working all those years at the movie store, this is his movie. And that was meaningful for me. I thought that the whole thing was just so great.
I thought that the emotional stuff worked for me too. I think that, the Dante and Randall character work is good. I do think that this Clerks 3 is the most obvious of how Brian O'Halloran just isn't a good actor. Like it's obvious that he's done the Clerks movies. He's always going to be Dante, but this is the biggest, I think, struggle for him as the fact of that he doesn't have a whole lot of acting prowess, but the writing is there and the characters are good and we've grown up with these characters. So I think you can get by. There are some scenes with Rosario Dawson in the movie, that's all I'll say, and she is such like a great actress and has charisma and everything.
Really funny,
it's just like when she's on screen, she just blows everybody out of the water because she's a talented actress compared to some of the folks. Gary, did the Elias stuff work for you in Clerks 3? Just curious.
Man,
isn't that his name?
Yeah, Elias.
Is that like the chubby nerdy kid?
Yeah, he's in Clerks 2, and
I told you guys I didn't like Clerks 2. I thought Clerks 2 was a huge miss.
I liked Clerks 2.
No, I did not think the Elias stuff worked at all.
Just curious.
So
that was a huge miss.
So I'm a big fan of all the movies too, but Kevin Smith misses sometimes, as people do, because he made that terrible movie about the killer hot dogs in the convenience store called Yoga Hosers, right?
I have not seen Yoga Hosers.
I don't want to. It looks like
truly hard to find, but I did see Tusk.
I saw Tusk too, and I will not say it's a bad movie, but it is hard to watch at times. But yeah, so Clerks 3 was really good for me too. The emotional stuff also worked for me. I did like the Elias stuff. I thought that shit was hilarious. And then, this movie actually made me cry. You got some tears going. Rosario Dawson, yes, kills it as always. But I mean, I don't know, man. We're getting older. Watching like the generation above us go through what we're going to go through. You know what I mean? Like, is a little scary, but hey, it's kind of cathartic to experience through a movie. So that
yes,
it like kind of, I feel a little more ready for that.
I think there was something really nice about it too, being that Clerks was Kevin Smith's first movie, and he had to sell everything to make it. And then Kevin Smith had a really bad heart attack, and so this Clerks was almost Kevin Smith's autobiography, just shoved into a movie series. And there was something really beautiful about that too, where it's his movie, his life, but it's the character's movie and it's the character's life, and he just blended it all together very well. And if you are a fan of Kevin Smith movies and the View Askew-verse, I would say this is going to be a big hit for you.
Definitely watch it.
And if you're not, I don't think that this one's going to win you over to the View Askew side.
Definitely not.
Yeah, it almost feels like this is a form of therapy for Kevin Smith when you're watching Clerks 3. Like, this was just a way. And I do appreciate that if you listen to interviews with him, he doesn't even claim at this point to be a great filmmaker or something like that. He's like, no, I just, I did this and it got me famous, and I still like to make movies, but he likes to podcast and he likes to read comics and he likes to do all the other stuff he likes to do. And if he has the means to make a movie and a studio will back it, sure, he'll do it. But I think there's a lot of other things he's realized he likes to do too. I liked the Masters of the Universe show that he was producing for Netflix and things like that. Yeah, I appreciate that he can just kind of go do what he wants now whenever he can. Not saying he can literally do whatever he wants, but just there's some freedom there, and I don't think he would even classify him as a filmmaker first anymore.
I really think that he speaks to my everyman. Whatever he has is the same everyman that I have in me. He's kind of a fat nerd, and he kind of scraped by and makes these kind of crappy comedies, and sometimes they've got dick and fart jokes, and sometimes they have a deep message. But it's usually just him and his friends goofing off trying to make something fun or lightly intelligent. And I totally vibe with Kevin Smith as a regular dude who just wants to be a nerd and goof off with his friends. I'm all about that. He's a regular Joe who made it.
Yeah, he's like the opposite end of the spectrum of James Cameron. He's a very down-to-earth, grounded, normal-ass person.
Man, could you imagine how bad Kevin Smith's Avatar would be, though?
Dude, oh man, there'd be way more graphic hair sex, I think.
There would be so many people just painted blue, just regular people painted blue.
But yeah, I also like this movie. Everyone should watch it. It sounds like it's certified fresh to me.
Yeah, I'll certify it fresh out the box. I'll put a big stamp on that.
Certified fresh out the box. We have to say that for legal reasons.
I'll say it's certified fresh for those who find Kevin Smith's movies, like his older movies, to be nostalgic, and you're already on board with those. That's the only caveat there. Well, anyway, that's it for all my movies. I want to pass it on to y'all to talk about some other things. It's actually funny, Gary. I just scrolled down and realized your list is just all Christmas movies, which I think is great. And then Jahan, you've got a lot of a few shows and some games and stuff. So yeah, we can talk about that because my last thing is actually on some of y'all's list too. So
let's kick it off with Wednesday. We all watched this, right?
I did. I watched.
I actually haven't watched it.
What? That's crazy, dog.
I've heard good things. I love Jenna Ortega, but this came out right around Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been a crazy month for me. Like, I haven't even watched as many movies as I usually do. So, yeah, I guess I'll leave it for y'all to tell me if this is something I need to catch up on, because I know it's been huge for Netflix. Huge for them.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, it's been a sensation. Everyone's seen her do her dance. It is, it's really good. So, it's definitely different from the Addams Family. It definitely focuses on Wednesday, which is an interesting change of pace. She gets to go to this school called Nevermore and is accompanied by Thing. They get into a lot of shenanigans. It's like a mystery. There's murder. There's,
pause me real quick. Nevermore is like Hogwarts, except Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
Right, go on.
Yeah.
I was just filling Drew in.
That's fair. So it is like, it's goth Hogwarts. It's Gothwarts. It's in a like small town full of normie people. They call them normies.
It's basically in Salem, and
basically
I think they do call them normies.
Yeah, they call them like normies. But yeah, there's murder mystery going on. A lot of people describe this as like magical girl anime kind of thing, and it's kind of true. She's really good actress in this. There's a lot of good acting in this. What's her name? Brienne of Tarth is in this, and she kills it as well. And Gomez is, what's his name, Gary? You know what I'm talking about.
I know Luis. Who. I can't think of his name.
Luis Guzman.
Yes.
Yeah. Luis Guzman.
Yes.
And then Catherine Zeta.
I was gonna ask how he is.
He's great. I loved him. Gary's shaking his head, but I loved him in this.
I had set expectations, I guess, really high for Luis Guzman and Fred Armisen, and both Gomez and Fester I thought were big letdowns for me. But where they were letdowns, Wednesday was so good.
So good.
So good, I would watch another season.
Top 2.
it doesn't matter that they were letdowns. And I thought they would be secret stars of the show with just hilarious performances. I thought Gomez could have turned it up way more on the arm kissing and just being a total creep. Instead, he's more respectful, more of a gentleman Gomez. He's definitely in love with Morticia. But Annie and I thought that Morticia could have been more ghoulish and more beautiful. So I thought that everyone was sort of not what I wanted them to be, except for Wednesday, who was all that and more.
Wednesday, she was perfect cast. She did a perfect job. I couldn't imagine anyone else having done what she did. She really achieved something with this role. And the show itself, like, the plot's actually good. There's a lot of, like, secrets and, like, that kind of mystery stuff going on. And it is fun. It's just a fun show. There's teen drama that isn't, like, I don't like teen drama. Like, it bothers me in shows a lot of times. Like, but they do it in such a way that it's actually enjoyable to watch. And it's definitely something I would recommend. And it sounds like Gary would too. I do agree. I wasn't, like, Fred Armisen was fine as Fester, but it definitely wasn't what I wanted. But I will disagree about, I like Luis Guzman a lot in this, and I also thought Catherine Zeta did a good job. But they weren't really, like, in it a lot, you know?
I kind of have a hunger for whodunit shows. I watched all of Only Murders in the Building, season 1 and 2, and I would say that Wednesday feeds on that whodunit vibe, where every time you as a viewer think you've got it figured out, they learn something new in the next episode, or you'll see a character there during something mysterious, and so you'll have to scratch that character off the list in your head. It's like, well, that's not the suspect anymore. So I think the show's good in that way, and I think you'll have fun
knowing that it's a whodunit does make me want to jump into it more, because I didn't know that from the promos and such.
And it's not just a whodunit. It is literally every episode you're like, damn, they keep stumping you. The way they introduce information, so they're always a step ahead in a very fun way.
I like the way that she reveals, like, her clues and where she is in the investigation. I like her breakdowns. I don't know, she's kind of like Sherlocking it, but, like, in her own way, and, like, it's really well done. I say this is absolutely certified fresh out the box. Probably like a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Like,
you'll get
real
my
good.
stamp of approval on Wednesday too. I had low expectations and was blown away. Loved it, watched every episode, and would watch a second season.
When it was coming out,
about 4 months. In about 4 months, I'll probably have caught up on it. I'll let you know.
Yeah, when it was coming out, I was kind of like, okay, that's fine. But then everyone, like, was talking about it, said it was amazing. I was like, okay, I got to check this out. And then we binged it as a family, and it was really good.
Can I just talk about Jenna Ortega for a second?
Please do.
Apparently, she's like an overnight success, huh? She's young and she's been in, like, everything this year.
Well, I was gonna say, like, if there's any young actress that has really stuck out over the last year, it's like, okay, I first saw her in a movie that came out on Netflix last year called Yes Day, which, if you've seen it, it's just a really, not very good family comedy with Jennifer Garner about parents who have to say yes for a whole day to their kids, and she plays, like, the older sister in that movie. Kind of a nothing part, for a straight to Netflix comedy. Anyway, jump to January of this year. The Scream 5 came out, the newest Scream movie, and she is a main character in that, and she's really good at it. And she was a standout in Scream. And then in March, a movie called X came out, which is a horror movie I talked about on the show months ago because I went and saw it, and it's really, really good horror movie, one of the better horror movies of this year. And she's in that and stuck out. And I was like, man, between Scream and X, it's like Jenna Ortega cementing herself as this new Scream queen of 2022. And now, so she's already kind of been on my radar, and now it feels like everybody caught up with Wednesday being this huge smash success. I saw one article, I actually just looked, she has 30 million Instagram followers now, and I think a lot of that has blown up since Wednesday came out, because I saw an article she had just hit 20, and now she's at 30. So I think now all of a sudden people are on board because the Netflix hive and the meme hive have discovered the dance went viral and all that, and I'm excited for her because I think that's cool. I just think she's a very exciting young actress. I'm eager to see. And there's a new Scream movie coming out Actually, the teaser's out now that comes out in March, and I believe she's returning in that. So excited for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Netflix
think
said,
she's got it. And
yeah.
she is, this generation's horror queen. And this Wednesday, I think, was sort of the exclamation point on a sentence that was already kind of set in stone, right? She was going to be the Scream Queen. And then Wednesday was just this wild exclamation point. Holy crap, she's the Scream Queen! So I'm looking forward to it, man. I have no ill will towards her, and I hope that she stays cool. She seems like she interacts with her fans in a cool way.
Yeah, she's
They're
really interesting. Yeah, she came up with the dance herself, and she says that she really, really enjoys acting in horror movies. So we'll probably see more of that. Also, they say that the plot for Wednesday has already been like planned out for 4 seasons or something like that. So
Uh-oh.
fingers crossed.
I wonder if Tim Burton will stay with it for all of that, or if he, did the first season and will hand it off. I mean, do you feel like it's distinctly Tim Burton?
I hope Tim Burton stays with the project.
It definitely did have his influence in it. You could actually see it, and I didn't hate any of that.
Yeah, and I also wouldn't say that it was the way I would describe Alice in Wonderland was annoyingly Burton-esque. I would say that Wednesday was not annoyingly
No,
Burton-esque.
not at all.
Fair. Perfect. Well, I could talk about some of that stuff more. I have other thoughts, but I want to move on because I know we've got a lot to do tonight.
Sure thing. I'll touch on this one quick because I think I'm the only fanboy here. Rick and Morty, the latest season just ended. They broke it up into 2 parts, so the second part just finished airing, and they finished it off with a Christmas episode. It was great. Morty got a lightsaber. That's all I'll say about it. But this season has made me laugh a lot, and I actually wound up like during my lunch break and stuff while I'm eating lunch. Sometimes I'll watch Rick and Morty, and I remember I was watching the Morty Gets a Dragon episode, and I was dying. I forgot the episode after that I watched, but I literally started crying during one part. Like, I was laughing so goddamn hard. Rick and Morty's great. The later seasons, like, I there is a lull there where it kind of just becomes like, let's see how many murders we can do. It suffers from its Pickle Rick syndrome at a certain point, but then it kind of recovers and gets back to the good stuff. The episode with Pissmaster is art. And you gotta watch the Pissmaster episode specifically. But yeah, speaking of Rick and Morty, Just Ruland has his game studio, Squanch Games, recently released High on Life, a AAA title, $60, but free on Xbox Game Pass day one. And I've played it. I know Gary's played it. I don't know if Drew's played it. But you're a kid, your parents are gone for the weekend, your sister wants to party, you guys are leaving the house to go do something, aliens invade. And the first thing you see is them roll up an old man as a fatty and smoke him, because they could smoke humans as drugs. So the A23 or the E23 cartel invades Earth to smoke humans as drugs. One of them dies by happenstance, kinda, and you pick up his talking gun. And it kind of guides you through, like, he's like, I hate those guys are dicks. But so you have a talking gun, it has Morty's voice.
Gun, spits a loogie into your face. So
yeah.
So that you can hear what he's saying. So
yeah.
That explains why he translates into human.
Yeah, he spits, he has to give you the microbes. He has to infect you with the translation virus. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But it's just nonstop laughs the whole time. The guns are hilarious. The knife is funny. You get a bunch of different weapons. The gameplay is actually solid. It's a solid shooter that's just full of nonstop comedy. And I can't say this enough. The graphics are incredible. Like, I was blown away. I was completely blown away with the quality of the graphics in this game.
The part that I can't repeat enough is how good the puzzle platforming is. Every gun has a different secondary. One can shoot discs into walls so you can climb them. One can make bridges and stuff fall, but usually have to shoot a wall behind it to make a bounce shot come back and hit the backside of the bridge. You have a knife that lets you glide.
Zipline.
Makes you you can whip jump from flying bug to flying bug. So you'll have to mix all these things together to really play the game and get through some of these hard platforming parts. There are some really challenging puzzles that aren't hard. They're just fun and challenging. It just takes your brain a second to work it out. Lots of fun puzzles. That's really a part I wanted to hit because everybody sort of, I think, expected this game to be funny. But to Jahan's point, I don't think everybody expected this game to look so good and run so good. It's so clean, and it looks like you're in this beautiful 3D rendered CG cartoon human world. But when you turn corners, it doesn't lag, and when you walk into an environment, there's no problem. People are walking around and talking. There are hilarious commercials going on in the background, and the world feels alive and active.
It really does.
Even in the central hub zone, there are hidden chests that you can climb and fly around and jump to collect, and you can't find them all the first time, so you have to come back later with more tools to find the puzzles.
I was actually very surprised with how much exploring you can actually do. Like, you can climb on top of, like, really tall buildings and stuff. Like, I wasn't expecting that. It was pretty open and very fun.
High on Life is probably the only game this year that I would give a 10 out of 10. Just clean, straight up 10 out of 10. No questions asked, from gameplay to storyline to immersiveness and sounds. It's just, I love High on Life, and I don't give out 10s easily, and I don't particularly like single player games, but High on Life is it is the game to play. It's like Halo 1 meets Conker's Bad Fur Day. All the enemies, the AI feels great, the grunts feel like Halo grunts, the bigger, stronger enemies, the way their armor is, it's just like plates of goo. You have to shoot all the goo off of them to expose their weak points. So accuracy matters. There's just so much in the game. It's so fun. I think it only suffers from there being only 4 guns, but each gun is fully voiced, and not just in the random stuff they say to you. They'll respond to the storyline in the game. So the replayability of the game is to go back and play with a different gun as your primary, so you can hear everything that the gun has to say to every character. There's just so much in High on Life, and we've only had it about a week and a half, and I feel like there's just going to be more to give as I keep discovering.
Yeah, I haven't played it enough yet to be like, yeah, 10 out of 10, because like I've only beaten the first boss so far, but after that, the game really opens up. The first boss fight was incredible and challenging, but I'll definitely give it like an 8.5 or a 9 standing right now. Like, this is a game that, so I've been so sick of games this year because they're not delivering what they're promising. This game is what was shown, is what it was expected. It has no performance issues. It is funny, and it is off the jump, just dive right in, a good time. And
where Jahan has beaten 1 boss, I have beaten 5 and put a lot more time into the game. So I feel like I've really given it some oomph. And the boss fights, every single boss fight is different. Even though you're limited with your guns, all the boss fights always present a new challenge as you go. With things in the environment to interact with that might make the boss fight easier if you notice the things. And if you don't notice them, well, then your boss fight's going to be real tough. Just cool things, like you notice a trick in a boss fight. That's exactly what they're mimicking with High on Life. The people who made this game love games. And they're from my generation. They've played what I've played, and they know what I wanted to see. They get my sense of humor. I don't know. I don't know what this is, but they got it.
They did something. They did something.
They put magic in a video game.
And it's free on Game Pass.
It's free on Game Pass. Free. I got Thomas playing it, too. And I know Keon's playing it.
Keon is playing it, man. I was sitting here, like,
not
playing.
Exclusive to Xbox, right? It's just on Game Pass.
No, it's just on Game Pass. It's not exclusive. But I was sitting here, and, like, I could hear him dying laughing through the wall because he was just dying.
Oh my god, it's so funny. And sometimes it's just the stuff the guns say. You're not even doing anything. You're just walking and you're just laughing.
No, Keon started watching. There are 4 full-length movies that you can sit on the couch and watch. And he was watching one of them. And you're watching with, like, an alien that lives in your house. And he watched, like, for 10 minutes. And the alien all of a sudden said, "Oh, man, this Paul Walker guy is really great. I hope he survives the invasion. I want to shake his hand." And I'm like, Oh, my God. And so there's stuff like that.
I teleported in a movie theater and walked in and was watching Demon Wind while I was eating lunch. And there are three characters on the front row who I can only assume are Justin Roiland and two friends. And they're just doing the Mystery Science Theater 3000 thing the whole time. They're just ripping this old horror movie. And so I was able to just sit there and listen to them and have a great time.
That's
not
really
even playing
funny.
the game.
That's
yeah,
really
just,
funny.
you know, they get me. That's what I'm saying. We're in tune.
Yeah. All right, well, that's High on Life. High on Life, certified fresh, out the box. Check it out, free on Game Pass. The next one is something that I've been wanting. I've been chopping at the bit for a while now, and both of you got it. So I'm thrilled that you guys dived in on this experience with me. Midnight Suns from Firaxis and 2K finally dropped. It is a tactical Marvel combat game using cards, and right out the gate, I'm just gonna say I love this game. This game's crazy. It's everything I wanted it to be, and I had very high expectations. And it succeeded in all of them and exceeded them in a lot of ways. I've been taking my time and haven't gotten to get quite as far as you guys in the story, but I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast with every minute of it. Yeah, what do you guys think?
I think Midnight Suns is absolutely a strange game to recommend to anybody.
Yeah.
It is a mixture of one of the most fun games I've ever played and some very, very boring filler content that you have no choice but to dive in on. You can't skip the boring stuff. The card game battle element of it, the troop placement and everything, it works really well. And the reason it works is because superheroes have movement, right? So you don't need to move 6 squares in attack. You move over there, you hit that guy. So you don't need movement. The cards solve that for you. I think that's really smart, really clever, and I think it totally works in that game's mechanics. I think some of the parts the game is weak on is what feels like some pretty dated explore the environment type of things, where every day, if you don't walk around and check all the corners of the mansion and some of the corners of the graveyards and stuff, then you'll miss experience quips and pips for attack and money and things like that that you need to progress. So it becomes sort of taxing and annoying. There are some daytime things that are locked, so you complete a quest now and you can't get the reward until you sleep. I think the clubs are a big miss. It's like the game tries to really push this social aspect of you living in the house with other heroes. And so if you're not into that anime RPG setting of living in a house with all your friends and giving them presents to level up relationships, all that stuff feels really taxing to me. The meat and potatoes of the game is awesome. The story of the game is awesome. Making decisions and getting new cards and leveling up your stuff, getting duplicates of cards so you could take it to the forge and increase your cards. I love it. All of that's a big hit for me. Overall, I would say Midnight Suns is like an 8 for me. 8 out of 10. It's
high.
Great. Yeah, very high. Great game, but that's for me. And I think that the list of people I could recommend this game to extends as far as the people I can see on my screen right now. I figured Drew would like a bunch of the RPG elements because they feel sort of like JRPG elements. I figured Jahan would like the tactics, the card building, and honestly, a lot of the crafting type of nitpicky stuff. I figured I would be the one who didn't like this game, but I love it.
Me too. I also figured that you would be the one that didn't like it. But, hey, you like it. What about you, Drew?
Yeah, so honestly, Jahan, I knew, like, I associate this game with you, first off, because I know you've been excited about it for literally about a year, or whenever it got announced.
Even longer.
I know that you've been really excited, and it even got delayed at one point, and you were, actually disappointed, and but it's here, and I almost didn't buy this just because of the card-based combat. I was like, that sounds much more like Gary and Jahan's kind of thing, not my kind of thing. But I am such a Marvel fan. I'm like, no, you know what? I want to try it. I want to play the new Marvel game and just see. And so I took a leap of faith and I bought it, and I'm really glad that I did. As y'all said, so yes, Gary, I do like some of the RPG elements you're talking about, but the core gameplay of the battles with the cards and the balancing decks and fusing cards and all that is what's bringing me back. Like, I think the actual combat missions with card-based attacks is very fun, and you're constantly getting new ones and new abilities that you can change out or fuse and make better. And I think that grind of it is really fun. I do actually, even though you said some of those things of basically, as Gary said, in between those missions, there's kind of some downtime, and even I agree that sometimes there's too much downtime between. Luckily, I think as the game progresses, it's really more up to how much of that you want to do. If you want to run to the mirror table, and do your next mission, you can. I think you miss out on some things by doing that, but as you progress, I think you kind of get used to the grind a little bit more, and the time between missions can take less and less. But yeah, I am really liking this game. I'm still in the midst of it. I think I'm close to about 2/3 through the main story, but it's actually the reason why I haven't played High on Life yet is because I haven't wanted to split time yet. I'm still playing Midnight Suns, and I want to get through it, and then I'll move on to that next. But yeah, I'm really digging this game. I like that it shines a light on some Marvel characters that maybe haven't gotten as much of a spotlight, whether it's in movies or in even the comics or games before. So like Nico, who's a Runaways character, I really like her in the game. I like Magic too, which she has been in the New Mutants movie played by Anya Taylor-Joy, but I don't think a whole lot of people saw that one. And then
I did. I actually liked that movie. It was better than people made it sound to me, personally.
And I think it's interesting that the Ghost Rider that's featured in the game is not Johnny. So actually, Johnny Blaze is in the game, but the main Ghost Rider that's part of your team is Robbie Reyes, who's the newer Ghost Rider who drives like a hot rod. And I actually like the fact that they used him as just for something different. And there's lots of other characters too. Blade, Spider-Man. There's some mainstream ones. You got Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, so on and so forth. But I kind of am liking the lesser known characters.
Yeah, I don't like Robbie Reyes, but Johnny Blaze doesn't bring a whole lot of interesting conversation to the table.
That's fair.
He'd just be like, "Screw off, kid. I don't want to talk to you. I'm mad. All my family's dead." We all know Johnny Blaze's story, so
maybe that's why they didn't put him in the game, because he's bad at friendship.
Yeah, he is bad at friendship. He's not a real friendship-based character.
Yeah.
And the relationship between Spider-Man and Ghost Rider, I think, is sort of fun to see on screen, and hopefully they do something with that in the future, because I like Ghost Rider as a character.
Same. So the downtime between missions, I mean, I don't know why, but I actually really enjoy running around. I kind of turn my brain off and do it, and I just kind of enjoy it. I don't know why, but it is running around a lot. The relationship stuff,
take as much or as little of it as you want.
Yeah, you don't have to do it as much. You can just kind of skip it if you don't want to, but you will miss out on like a couple like extra points here and there. The relationship stuff, however, though, it reminds me a lot of Fire Emblem Three Houses in the way it works.
Very Fire Emblem-esque. Like, good comparison.
It's just like Three Houses, and I really like it. I like the relationship stuff. It's really cool to get to develop a friendship. Like, I'm really close with Magic right now. I didn't know I was going to become close with Captain Marvel, but she's actually pretty cool. Like, when you get to know her. Blade's a dope dude, and having a friendship, like, we gotta like meditate one time, and we talked about like deep stuff. It was cool, and like, I don't know, it's weird. You get to see this other side of the heroes, and you kind of get to know them in like a weirdly personal way, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. And there's a lot of lore. There's a lot of Marvel lore in there, too.
What Jahan says is cool may or may not be cool, and I still haven't decided if I like it or not. But there are these different hangouts that you find across the Abbey, which is the main area, across the Abbey grounds. And you can invite a character to a hangout, and usually you do things like paint, or have a deep conversation, or meditate. And so it's almost like going on a platonic date with superheroes.
Yeah.
and it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird, but I'll say
think it's
this
fun.
about the game: like some of those things, I think that the combat and everything, the main grind of the game is really, really great. I'm really enjoying this game. However, don't think it's perfect, and I feel like a sequel or something in the future could expand on all of these things to make it even better. So, as much as I love this game, I'm really excited for the future of it because I hope it spawns a franchise because more Marvel Suns games could be really good.
I did have something else I wanted to say. The Marvel's Avengers game was pretty much exactly what everyone wanted and asked for our entire lives. Is this 3D action adventure game, 4-player co-op where you could go smash them with all your favorite Marvel heroes. And it didn't land. And I think that's because that 3D action platforming thing, I think it's old and I think it's tired and I think it's boring. So to do something like this where you stretch out and you say, sure, let's make it a card-based tactics game. I think it's a smart choice because you've already tried all the heroes with the game everybody asked for, and for some reason it's just boring. It doesn't work. I think the reason Midnight Suns works is because they took a risk and did something so different. And so it's so interesting and so fun. If this had been another 3D action adventure beat 'em up featuring these characters, this game would have been crap.
Yeah.
What makes it good is the fact that it's this weird style of game.
And it's a style that I really enjoy. Like, so I was playing a lot of XCOM 2, which is the game Firaxis made, the tactics game before this. And while I was doing that, I was watching a lot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And, like, the way that they did the show and the game, I was like, man, y'all should really do an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like tactics game. Like, I would play the shit out of that. And that was before this got announced. And I know that they didn't do it because I said that, but I still said it, and I'm happy about that I got what I wanted. So, but yeah, I certify this fresh out the box. If you like tactics games, it's not for everybody. I know a lot of people were like, "This is a tactics game," boo, because they all thought it was something else. But
So the reason I said what I said about not being able to, not being the same way as the Avengers one is I had seen reviews that were like, this game sucks. You don't even play as the characters. It's just a card game.
yeah,
And
I saw those too.
that's what like makes my brain want to melt is like, what do you want? Do you just want these skins in the Avengers game? Because that's boring. That's old. Something new and you don't even know it, jackass. Give it a shot.
Yeah,
I love it. But I'm not a 10 out of 10 guy. I'm an 8 out of 10 guy. There's supposed to be more characters and more content coming in the future for the game, so that means more cards and more combos. So that's awesome, and I'm about that life.
I'm saying I give this definitely a 9.
I would love to see like a villains version of this next year.
That'd be fun.
Where you could beat up just droves of good guys, and you could play characters
A
like
versus
Omega
mode.
Red.
That'd be cool.
No, not a versus mode. Just a actually
I would
that
do
might be
versus
pretty
mode.
fun.
But speaking of Marvel, this is another game we've all been playing. Marvel Snap, which won Mobile Game of the Year, it's kind of become this whole thing. Like everyone's playing it. Both of my brothers play it. Both of you play it. It's really fun. It is a quick card game. It reminds me of Smash Up, where there are three. So there's 3 bases, and you got to have the most attack points on base to win it. Whoever wins the most bases after 6 rounds wins the game. And they just have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of superhero cards. All of them do different stuff. All of them are cool. There are variants that you unlock that some of them are dumb, some of them are really cool. It's a hyper competitive game that you could play a game in about, it takes like 3 minutes tops. Very, very fun. How you guys feeling about Marvel Snap? I know y'all been playing.
I still play it on occasion. I'm not playing it grinding as much as I was a few weeks ago, but I still play it almost daily. But I still think it's really fun. I think the things that I thought it was lacking, ironically, the developer just came out with their development roadmap of the things that they're planning for the near future. And I'm like, oh, all the stuff that I thought that this game was missing is the stuff that they're actively working on. So that makes me excited for its future. Like, being able to battle
each other.
friends.
Yeah.
being able to do like other competitive modes and clans and things like that. I'm like, yes, that's the stuff that I want.
Hell yeah.
I love Snap, and I play Snap multiple hours every day. I usually turn off my Xbox and play Snap for like an hour or two before I go to bed. Um, Marvel Snap is just this. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's great. I think it's just absolutely fantastic. There's so many different card combos. Did I mention it's free? It's like free.
It is
You
free.
download it for free. You don't have to put any money in it. When you play it, you get little experience tokens and use experience tokens to unlock random cards. So you never know what you're going to get next. So that will inform your play style. The more cards you get, you'll have to redesign your deck around the good cards that you have. I think there's something really fun about that.
Me too.
Then you get these winning decks, and then you start to realize, well, I can make another winning deck because I have enough cards to build a movement kind of deck and a discard type of deck and then a kill type of deck. So now you have all these decks and all these combos. You can mix and match them. Basically, the strategy is, you want half of your deck to do one thing and the other half of the deck to support that thing or to do something else successful, so that your hand isn't just based on pulling one card. You never draw all of your cards in that game. Even if you have a draw deck,
That's true.
you will never draw all of your cards. So it's a really fun card game in that way, in that you have a limited number of cards and you can almost force what's coming to your hand. There are lots of combos you can do. I can't get enough of it. Marvel Snap's probably my favorite phone game I've ever played in my entire life. Phone games for me really aren't
Probably
the thing.
same.
I don't use my phone for games. This would be the first time in my life I've ever used my phone for games. So, yeah, huge thumbs up for me. For being a phone game, 10 out of 10. But it's not 10 out of 10 for being a game. I'm not sure where it stands, but yeah, like Jahan said, fans of Smash Up, fans of deck builders,
Fans of Marvel.
fans of Marvel. People just want to do crazy combos with cards. If you're a card game player, just please, this is such a good game. And I've heard people discount it because it's Marvel, so it must not be good. It's mainstream. Shut up. Play this game. It's so good.
Yeah.
There are some deep cut Marvel characters featured on some of these cards that I like.
It was actually really funny, the timing of Marvel Snap, because I had been playing it and then the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special came out, but I already was refreshed on my memory of who Cosmo was. And then sure enough, Cosmo the talking dog is in Guardians. So I was like, look, it's Cosmo! Hooray! So there's just like immediate... it gives you this, recognition and nostalgia and all the things that you like about Marvel, and it sort of ties into the movies, but not really. But it's just fun to see the characters, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, right now my favorite deck is my Venom Carnage kill deck. I love it. I have a blast playing it. Good stuff. Marvel Snap. Check it out if you have it. It's free, completely free on your phone. And we are not sponsored, so you can trust us, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I'd like to be sponsored by Marvel Snap. That game rules.
I only had two more quick things. So one, I don't know if you're aware of this, but so Ash Ketchum finally became the very best like no one ever was. To catch them was his real test, and to train them was his cause. He became a Pokemon master. He did it. He did the thing. And in a very interesting move by the writers, that's it. Ash Ketchum is no longer going to be the protagonist of Pokemon. They're introducing two new characters, a boy and a girl. Don't know much about them, but there is speculation that maybe Ash is the parent of one of them. But Ash Ketchum, the perpetual child of our childhood, is retiring, and now we're old. We're old as shit. A cartoon child is retiring. All right, but yeah, he's gone. So
Whoa,
just
a cartoon retired. That's crazy.
Yeah, cartoon retired.
I know people who can't afford to retire.
Yeah, right. And then my last thing is just kind of a shout out to Game Pass killing it lately. They've given us High on Life, Dark Tide. Coming up, I'm really excited for Monster Hunter Rise. And man, there was another game that's coming out after Monster Hunter that I'm really... Oh yeah, Atomic Heart. Really excited. So they've just been crushing it. Also with games like Vampiric Survivor, and just overall just killing it, man. It's the best value in gaming still. Not sponsored yet, but hopefully one day. That's all I had to say.
It is the Christmas season, and I know that you are hungering for Christmas movie recommendations. So behold, and get a kiss under the mistletoe while I reveal to you my favorite holiday 22 Christmas films. First on Netflix is A Boy Called Christmas. Yes. Second would be Home Alone, a classic, but it's on HBO Max this season and you can watch it with your loved ones. Along on HBO Max is the live-action Grinch. Ooh, what a great way to spend your chilly Christmas evening. Back over to Netflix, you should watch Murderville, an improv comedy show starring Will Arnett where someone has killed Santa Claus. Oh no! And finally, on Disney Plus is the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special with all original Christmas songs sure to make you feel joy deep in your heart.
Thank you for our guest appearance from the Christmas Whisperer.
I loved every second of that.
You were dying over there. I was watching your face.
Thanks. Thank you.
I was staring at the microphone topping out. But it actually wasn't too bad. I was like, is it too bad? No, it's okay.
That's it for my Christmas recommendations. That's all I've got this week. Next week, we're going to be talking about our top 5. So there were a lot of things that I could have talked about this week that I didn't want to spend too much time on. For example, we just talked about how much I absolutely love Wednesday, right? And so, surprise, Wednesday made it on my top favorite shows this year. So we'll talk some more about some of that stuff next week, but
not as much. Yeah.
That's all I got. That's all I got, buddy.
Well, I think in that case we can probably wrap it up.
Oh, you didn't want to talk about the holiday special?
Do we? Do we want to talk about it?
I liked it.
Has everybody seen it?
I did like it.
I liked it. I did like it. I kind of felt like it was nice to have the Guardians back and have a little bit more time with them, because I think that was the thing that was lacking from Thor: Love and Thunder, is I just wanted more of the Guardians, and so here it was nice that we didn't have to wait, a full year or whatever until Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 comes out. I just appreciate that this is what it is. Like, it's just a little Christmas story, there's no big reveals, there's no big spoilers or characters popping up, and it's just a fun Christmas story. It was
really funny
with the Guardians.
It was really funny, and it even has like a little bit of some touching moments with Yondu there.
I liked the old style Christmassy cartoon vibe that it had to bring in like that nostalgic throwback to old cartoons. Also, like I said, it had some original Christmas songs that were really funny. It was an alien band playing Christmas songs that didn't actually know much about Santa Claus. And then Drax and Mantis I thought was going to be a weird pairing to watch, but they ended up actually being pretty funny and pretty likable.
Yeah.
So I think maybe my biggest complaint was that just they that the plot, actually the writing, just going to kidnap Kevin Bacon. I think that's not as funny as they think it is. But I think I thought everything else actually worked.
I thought it was just as funny as they thought it was.
I'm kind of more in the camp with Gary, I think. I think when I saw the trailer for this special and saw that was the plot, I thought that was really funny. And so then going into it knowing that was... Maybe if I hadn't seen a preview, I would have thought it was way better. But from that standpoint, I don't know. That's why I'm kind of like... I don't want to say underwhelmed. That makes it sound negative, because I did like this special. But it's like... It's just a Guardians Christmas special. Like, that's it. And that's fun, and I'm glad it exists, but it's not anything that's gonna, like, knock your socks off. This is the second of these Marvel Studios, special presentation deals that aren't necessarily a full series, between this and Werewolf by Night, and I thought Werewolf by Night was better than this one.
It definitely was. Werewolf by Night was definitely better. But this was great
again,
for what it was.
It's like comparing, it's apples and oranges. They're two completely different things. But this is a nice little visit with the Guardians, and I'm really excited after seeing that Guardians 3 trailer because I think the new movie looks good.
It looks really funny. Yeah, Guardian. Yeah, it was one of the best holiday specials that I've ever seen for sure. I thought it was really funny. But yeah, check it out if you haven't seen it already on Disney Plus. But that's it for episode 69 of Fresh Out the Podcast. I've been Johananon at RockFact on Twitter.
If you want to back us at our highest level, then we will 69 you. I'm Casualty CDG, and you can find me at Casualty CDG across all social media platforms.
That's not legally binding.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
I am Drew Munhausen at Drew Munhausen on Twitter. Thank you for listening.
Stay fresh.
Stay fresh.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, episode 69.
No, this is not 60. Last time was 69.
Oh, man,
John.
it's over?
This is episode 70.
Oh, man.
70.
Well, I'm Jahan Anon, the board game guru and game master extraordinaire.
It's me, Casualty CDG, and since I was told it was episode 69, I came butt naked, and there's no way of taking that back. Take it away, Drew.
Oh boy. I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen. Sorry to disappoint, but this is episode 70 of Fresh Out the Podcast.
Well, there's just no way of putting my clothes back on now.
You good, Drew? You ready?
Don't you usually record naked anyway, Gary? I thought isn't this just the norm?
So I usually record naked from the bottom down because I've been a big fan of Winnie the Pooh since I was a kid. So they always said, dress the part. So I dress like my hero. No pants, no underwear, no bottoms.
Oh, bother. Bet you good, Drew? You got your Red Bull over there, Drew?
I do. It's a sugar-free Red Bull.
So that your old ass can stay up past 10? Is that...
Yes. Yes, you're exactly right.
That was going on.
Yeah, there's no shame there. No, this is
past 10. Gotta
my
get over
bedtime.
So I don't mean to get into a dick swinging contest of whose drink is better, but what are you drinking, John? What do you have over there?
I have this water.
Wow, yeah, you guys both suck. You see, what I've got over here is a chocolate milk tea. So we made tea with milk and then put some chocolate milk in there to cool
Gary
it.
wins this round of what are you drinking?
Yeah, so like I said, I didn't want to dick swing drinks, but I got a big dick drink. That's all I'm saying.
That's a big dick drink. Yeah,
I could drink a. This is a big drink of dick.
I had the plan for this episode was that we were doing our top fives of the year for movies, TV, and games. But now I feel like maybe we should just do top 5 drinks. Is that a thing?
Yeah. Oh, that's easy.
Yeah. But I win, and then Drew came in second, and Jahan's in third.
Top 5 drinks in this order. I'm gonna go Coke Zero, Pepsi, Milkus, then coffee, and then number 1's gonna be root beer. Boom. Eat it.
I don't want to do this anymore. Can we not do this? We're all gross.
Water might be my number 1, which that's really boring.
It's okay. Your number 2 is probably room temperature milk.
I don't want to do this anymore. You guys are the worst. You named gross stuff, and he said water. What the?
I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of drinking milk. I put milk in my cereal. That's about it. I don't even drink it after I ate the cereal. I don't like to drink milk.
Okay, that's the other option.
What?
Did not like it.
What? You don't drink the milk after you eat the cereal?
No.
What do you do with all that sweet milk? That's all sugary and tasty. Don't
pour it down the drain.
He pours it straight down the drain while staring at a picture of a starving child.
No, you do not.
And he goes,
What is wrong with you? Why are you like this?
It's true.
Oh my God. And when I talk to my therapist and I'm like, look, I feel like I'm the sane one living in an insane world, and then you say stuff like that, and that doesn't help your case, you insane person dumping sweet milk down the sink, drinking water all the time. What kind of crazy pills are you on?
The amount of gallons of cinnamon sugar milk, post a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
No.
The amount of gallons of milk of that I've put down the drain is definitely something to be ashamed of.
Drew throwing out that cinnamon milk.
It's like the best part. It's the milk with the cinnamon sugar.
I don't drink milk. I don't drink milk.
Drew, you're the worst.
That's it. That's all I got. I will put milk in my coffee. Put it in my coffee.
I hate all of that.
Yeah, the fact that you're taller than me means that parents are fucking liars.
I don't want to rank
drink all of my milk.
This is not a drink podcast, and this is the reason why. I would have ended this podcast long ago. Oh God!
I'm very happy with what's happened so far.
No. I will start things in the right direction. This is not the way things are supposed to go. The two of you need to knock off all this drink nonsense. Let's talk about our top 5 favorite movies of the year.
Hey, is your year coming to an end? Well, let's take a look at it.
Let's take a look.
Just look at it.
23 now, so you're gonna wonder what's the best from 22, and I'm gonna give it to you.
Oh, jeez.
We're gonna start with movies, and I realized today, and I know this, and everyone knows this about me. I'm kind of a video game guy, and when I was reflecting on the movies that I went and saw this year, the movies that came out this year, I was pretty dumbfounded and stumped by how unimpressive I felt at the end of the year. So instead of picking favorites, I've decided to just trim this down for you guys. Black Panther and Multiverse of Madness were both like meh. It's like meh, eh. They're tied for meh. But Namor, the bad guy from Black Panther, as well as Gore, the bad guy from Multiverse of Madness, were both completely awesome.
Love and Thunder.
Oh, that's right.
Gore
Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder.
Gore from Love and Thunder. Totally awesome. Awesome bad guys this year, and some pretty meh movies on the Marvel front. And those are really the only ones I got out to see. I guess I'm still sort of in COVID mode. And then we saw Jurassic World Dominion. And it's like I knew it was gonna be bad, and I don't know why I saw it, but then it was bad.
Hey, want to see a movie about dinosaurs? Too bad! This one's about grasshoppers! You
Too bad.
piece of
This
shit!
one's about putting your hand up and having an imaginary force field that can stop anything coming at you. Just put your hand up. You're totally fine. No, the Dominion was so bad that it made Jurassic Park 2 and 3 seem totally relevant and watchable again. And in order to be so bad that you put those movies back on the map is impressive.
I'm not going to go on a tangent, but I will argue for the goodness of Lost World. I like that movie.
So I think this year was a big miss on movies. So I asked Drew to let me start this one off just so I could pass it to him, so he could right my wrongs. What I saw this year really wasn't worth seeing. I really wouldn't have sent you to the theater.
Hey, I will say, I feel bad because all the theatrical releases that Gary saw were pretty much the ones that I forced him to see for this show for the sake of discussion. And as he said, a lot of those weren't. Some were okay, like the Marvel movies were fine, but nothing to be that excited about, in my opinion. Spoiler alert, no Marvel movie made my top 5 or honorable mentions. A DC movie did make my honorable mention, because The Batman is on my honorable mentions for best movies of the year. So, worth noting. That's an episode we did an episode on this year, but I almost forget that movie came out in 2022. Like, The Batman seems so long ago.
My list, it was written by a 12-year-old, I think. I feel
do your homework.
I feel similar to Gary. I was not thrilled with the theatrical. I wasn't thrilled with movies this year. It wasn't. Every now and again, there's a year that it's just not that great. And then there are years that it's back-to-back goodness. I didn't feel like this was that year. But there were definitely some good movies that I really enjoyed. So,
and what you're saying, Jahan, like, I could literally just go on for hours about just the state of cinema and the state of movies, because I actually think that a lot of the prestige awards type movies that have come out this year so far have been really, really good, and I think have been better this year than in many years past. However, those types of movies are the ones that are not making any money at the box office at all. I hope that people can discover them on streamers, but yeah, I mean, there's a few on my list that were barely made any money at the box office, or were almost pretty much bombs. But
all of mine, I think, made quite a bit.
We'll talk about that. I do. Do you mind if I throw out a bunch of honorable mentions?
Go ahead.
So these are all honorable mentions. These, depending on what type of mood I was in, the mood I was in today resulted in the top 5 that I have.
This is our in memoriam list, because these ones didn't make the list, so these movies are dead. Oh man, these are the dead movies.
Jason David Frank gets an in memoriam this year.
Any other day, one of these movies could have been at least in the number 5 spot. But these, as of today, these are honorable mentions. I have Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Northman, Bodies, 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 Barbarian, The Batman, The Menu, and Avatar: The Way of Water. Those are all honorable mentions for me.
I haven't seen your lists yet, but based on that list, I would add Bullet Train to that list for myself personally.
You know what? I actually haven't seen Bullet Train yet. That is one I've missed so far.
See,
Bullet Train just fits right in there, maybe right at the top, right with Everything Everywhere All at Once, honestly.
I haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I know that if I had, it would have been on my list. So,
I think
Well,
those movies are equally as actiony, entertaining, and fun and cool.
I also really want to see bodies. But yeah,
but I'll go ahead and jump into my number 5,
yeah.
which at the time that we are recording this movie is not available on Netflix yet, but it will be available on Netflix the weekend of Christmas, and will be available on Netflix at the time that this episode releases in podcast feeds. And that is Glass Onion, a Knives
Ooh.
Out mystery. So this is the Knives Out sequel. I did go out of my way to catch this one in theaters the week of Thanksgiving. I wanted to check it out, and I'm really glad I did. I got to see this in like a packed theater, which was awesome, and it's a shame that Netflix won't release it wide for a longer period of time. But this will be streaming. I'm sure that this is going to do really well amongst families and everyone during the holiday weekend. But yeah, I thought it was hilarious. I liked the first Knives Out a lot. I think that there were a lot of people that rated the first Knives Out on their top 10s of the year when that one came out. I liked it a lot, but I was a little bit more lukewarm on it than others. I thought Glass Onion was the far superior movie, which is interesting because I think the critic reception of it is mixed, mostly positive, but I feel like most are still on board with the first one. But I thought Glass Onion was hilarious. A way funnier cast, just crazier characters on an island setting. Daniel Craig is wonderful doing his thing as Benoit Blanc, the detective, and you got Dave Bautista here and Edward Norton and Kate Hudson and Catherine Hahn and just a whole bunch of great people. And yeah, I loved it. Glass Onion, and Knives Out mystery, great whodunit, great comedy, some fun twists, just a great time at the movies for sure.
My number 5 is a Marvel movie. I really enjoyed Thor: Love and Thunder. Gore the God Butcher was fantastic. A villain performance like no other. It was top notch, and I loved it. Number 5, but we've already talked about it on the show a lot. You know, the stuff with Natalie Portman coming back, and you know, having the sickness, and you know, the sad stuff and the happy stuff, and the children being thrown into the cage of nightmares. All highlights, all good stuff, and I really enjoyed how this ended, and the last scene with that last battle with Thor and the girl, and good things.
Interesting. I knew that you were higher on Thor: Love and Thunder than the rest of us were. I did not realize you had it in top 5 territory.
To be fair, I don't. It's not a high bar this year. I didn't watch a lot of new movies this year. You know, I did watch. I mean, I watched movies, but I'm a rewatcher, and yeah, this is one of the few new movies.
I will say on a tangent here, I was on a cruise just a couple weeks ago, and on Royal Caribbean, and they do on the top deck, like the pool deck of the boat in the evenings, sometimes they will show movies out there. And one evening I was sitting out there and they were playing Thor: Love and Thunder. I was not actively watching it or anything, but I could hear it on occasion or catch bits of it. And my note is that I still find the goats to be incredibly annoying. I could hear them as I was sitting there on occasion, and every time I'd go, ugh.
Yeah, I think I saw a meme today that was Taika Waititi, and it was like, this is the guy who saved Thor and made the best Thor movie, and then turned around and ruined Thor and made the worst Thor movie and shown the door. That made me laugh. I certainly don't think it's the worst one, but I think it did suffer from
the Waititi.
Yeah, I think it suffered.
I agree.
Taika Waititi.
The Korg stuff is a little
TMT,
much.
too much Taika.
Too much Taika.
Man, that sucks. But just, if you could just stop being you so much and, be not you, because reel it in.
he's something else. But yeah.
I love Taika Waititi, but yeah, I think that I think that was the only problem with the movie. I think it could have been better. It just suffered from a little TMT.
It's true. I just feel like it didn't bother me as much, and that's why I like the movie a lot more.
I'm gonna jump into my number 4.
Number
Is that cool?
4.
My number 4 is Tar. Tar is directed by Todd Field and stars Kate Blanchett, and
That's the
she's probably going to
prequel
win the
to
Oscar for this movie.
Zan.
It's hers to lose. And this movie, I talked about it on the show a few weeks ago. I really liked it, and I've only grown fonder of it. And I think it's just one of the most unique movies that I've seen this year. By far, one of the best performances in a movie I've seen this year with Kate Blanchett. Yeah, this movie has just aged well in my mind, and I think it's going to be a big contender in the Oscar race. And yeah, just sit well with me. Tar.
T-A-R?
T-A-R.
Yes.
Is it
It's,
about
of course-
smoking, the La Brea tar pits, or roofing?
None
It
of
is
those.
about Lydia Tarr, and she is a conductor.
I don't
or
think we saw
centaurs.
the same movie. Tar is actually the prequel to Zan, in which she will play Jane, and they go to the jungles of Africa and meet the titular character Tarzan. This was
boy.
just a prequel to sort of set you up in motion and kind of know what the background's all about.
Oh no! Oh no!
Number
Don, you're number 4.
My number 4, I don't think showed in theaters. It was a Hulu movie, and it was Prey.
Ooh, good movie. Ooh, that would be in my
Prey.
honorable mentions. I
That's a
liked
good
Prey
pick.
a lot.
Prey was
That is
fantastic. Like, when you're told Hulu's making a Predator movie, you don't think that movie's going to be fantastic. You think, I'll watch it. It'll be entertaining. This movie was fantastic. This was a dope-ass movie. The action was fantastic. The Predator sequences were great. The main character, the actress, was fantastic. They did a great job with their native representation. And it was a hit. It was a hit, and you didn't have to leave your house. You could just plop on the couch and experience one of what, in my opinion, one of the top 5 best movies of the year.
Here. Prey was killer.
Great
But,
pick. Great pick.
Thanks. But yeah, number 3.
Number 3. I won't go into too much details. This is a true enough said pick. Going Top Gun Maverick for number 3 on my list. Love it. Still
Honestly,
love it. One of the best movies of the year.
I saw it. I've never seen the original, but they were watching it at my girlfriend's house, and so I watched it. Not bad. It was entertaining. It was definitely entertaining. The plane sequences are dope. And then that the part after the plane sequence was actually like kind of really funny. And I don't know. It was not bad. It was not a bad movie. A real popcorn movie. My number 3. I also won't get too into it because we just did a whole episode about this one. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Great movie. Touching tributes to Chadwick Boseman, and great character development, great character introductions. A really good movie with a really diverse cast, and it was fantastic. I loved it.
Perfect.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Movies of
My
the
number
year.
2. My number 2 is The Banshees of Inisherin. The new Martin McDonough movie with Colin Farrell and Brandon Gleeson. It is now available on HBO Max. It's streaming. I highly recommend everyone go see it. I think that it's just aged so well. I got to see this at Fantastic Fest back in September, and it's just one of my favorite movies of the year. It's great. It's probably the best thing I've seen Colin Farrell do. I love Brendan Gleeson. This is them reuniting with Martin McDonough, who did In Bruges back in 2008. Just all around great movie that deals with a lot of emotions and depression and things like that. And I think that it is worth people watching. It's about a guy who decides that he doesn't want to be friends anymore with his best friend of a long time, and it goes from there. Great movie.
Interesting.
Great movie.
I was just assuming it was 2 hours of a screaming banshee that would just make your ears bleed as you stare at the screen with no cuts.
It is definitely not that. So, thankfully.
Yeah, that sounds better than what I thought.
If you watch it, you'll die. My number
Your
2.
brain will melt.
Not. My number 2 is very different. My number 2 is Bullet Train. Bullet Train. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. It was fantastic. Brad Pitt kills it. Really, really funny performance by him. It's this big ensemble cast. Some people come in and are out, and then like that. Like they did a whole character introduction at one point. They did his whole story. It was crazy, man. They really get him in, get him out, get the story out there, let you see it. It's an interesting movie. It's a unique movie. I loved it. I love the characters. I recommend watching it. It is a fun family night movie. Depending on if you got like small kids, maybe not. But like if you have like older kids, they could probably deal with it. I don't remember how much swearing's in it because I don't notice swearing. The violence is great though, and I really like that movie. You should definitely check it out.
I've seen Bullet Train. I like Bullet Train. It did not make my top 5 of the year. I just thought this was not a great year for movies, as I stated, but Bullet Train was fun. It kind of reminded me of like Transporter or that other Jason Statham one where he has the battery in him, voltage.
Crank.
It's kind of got almost that kind of campy, fun, action, silly type of vibe. The character introductions, like a title pops up that says their name, boom, up on the screen like a comic book almost. So it's fun and colorful, and it's really a good time. I'm not sure it's good, but it's a thing that you could like. Brad Pitt's character is really funny. He seems to be cursed with an unlucky streak, and the plot is everybody on the train is a hitman. But Brad Pitt is just the unluckiest hitman to ever be alive. And when it cuts back to his stories and his flashbacks are always really funny because you think maybe he was a hero one time and he did a thing, but it was always some unlucky shit that landed him in some shitty situation every single time. So there's some really endearing parts in that movie that are just plain fun.
I do like Bullet Train. Yeah, check it out, Drew. You haven't seen it yet? Yeah. But hey.
Ironically, I bought the 4K Blu-ray, and I just haven't watched it. And I know it's on Netflix now anyway, but yeah, I own it and haven't even watched it.
Well, if you watch the Blu-ray, you're not going to get a whole lot out of it. You're going to have to take it out of the case and then put it in your Blu-ray player and then make it play on your TV. And then that's how you're really going to get the most out of the
Unless you, like, wing it down the stairs, in which case at least it'll move a little. Short-lived fun. I agree with Gary. Drew.
Giving both of you a very hateful look, but I appreciate this joke, at least.
Whenever you throw it down the stairs like that, that's what they call a quick short film.
Oh, there you go. Yep. It's a short film.
My number one.
One.
Which is actually a movie I haven't talked about on the podcast yet. My number one is...
Inspector Gadget.
Good pull. No, my number one is The Fabelmans, directed by Steven Spielberg. This is a movie all about Steven Spielberg's life, but it's super cinematic and fun and full of vignettes, and I loved it, man. I loved it. I love The Fabelmans. I'm a mark for Steven Spielberg, so that's worth noting, but I just loved every bit of this. Dude knows how to make a movie. He knows how to manipulate and tug at your heartstrings, and yeah, I just thought that this movie was everything that I wanted it to be. It unfortunately is not doing too high at the box office. It is already on video on demand though and doing well. I'm sure it'll be on Peacock soon because I believe it's a Universal release. But yeah, The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg, pretty good director if you've heard of him. Yeah, I just really liked it. A great young actor stars. His name is Gabriel LaBelle. He's a great young actor who plays the young Steven Spielberg in this. Paul Dano, Michelle Williams, Seth Rogen, Judd Hirsch. Just great stuff. Really loved it.
It's really, really funny. Dano's in my number one movie as well. My number one movie of the year is The Batman.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, I loved it. It was definitely the best movie that I saw this year, for sure. What, did you not like The Batman, Gary?
No.
Oh.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I thought
no.
that was pretty bad in hindsight.
I liked it a lot. I really enjoyed it. I'm happy they're doing a sequel. I don't want the Joker to be in it, but I think he's gonna be. But I thought Paul Dano killed it, man. I thought he absolutely killed it as the Riddler, and what's his face, Batman, did a good job.
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, yeah, there you go. He did it backwards. He went from a vampire to a Batman. I think you're supposed to go the other way. But yeah, that was my number one movie this year. Yeah, I liked it. I don't know. We did a whole episode about the Batman. So
After
Yep, go
hearing
back.
your lists, I think maybe the best thing I had seen that I'd forgotten about was Prey, because I was thinking about my movie theater experience and forgotten completely about Prey. That was a real sleeper. I didn't expect it. I didn't ask for it, and it was awesome instead. And I stand by the people who say it's better than the original Predator. I think somehow, yeah, this is the first part of a series that's better than the original.
yeah, I love to pray.
That'll get us into TV shows and video games. What do you guys want to talk about next? Games or shows?
I'll leave that to Jahan. Jahan, what are you feeling? TV shows or video games?
I think let's keep it to watching. I don't know. It seems more natural to me. Let's just walk into shows. I'll start off with I'll start off with an honorable mention. I have an honorable mention show that didn't make my list, but I really enjoyed. Stranger Things season 4, really good. Really liked it. They broke it up into 2 parts, and the wait was kind of killer, man. I'm really excited for the last season to come out. David Harbour was great this season. It was a good show. But
My honorable mention is going to be Oni, which was a Netflix short series little claymation show where Craig Robinson voices the a thunder god, a Japanese Oni thunder god, and has a half Oni daughter who's trying to learn how to use her god powers. It's a 7-episode, maybe 6-episode claymation
What?
special.
I don't think I've ever heard of
never
this.
heard of this. I gotta watch this.
It's really good. It doesn't make my top 5, but it does honorable mention for sure.
I gotta watch this. Yeah, I watched a lot of shows this year for sure. I feel like it was a much hotter year for shows. Shows have been it's peak television right now. I couldn't even begin to list all the shows I've watched, but I'll start off. My number 5. Mine was From. It's a show I talked about on the show.
From what?
It's just From. FROM.
Right. From
who?
what?
Who directed it?
From me
who?
to you. But it is a really interesting, like, kind of mystery show from the creator of Lost. I believe it's on Stars? I think it's a Stars show. But yeah, it stars Harold Perrineau, who
Oh, yeah, I remember you talking about this.
From The
He's
Matrix.
From Lost.
from
is what I
Lost as
think
well.
of.
He's also from Lost. But yeah, creator of Lost. This show, it's in a town. You can't really leave. And when the sun goes down, these people come out of the woods and smile at you. And if you don't run, they'll fucking kill you. And by kill you, I mean like brutal, savage, rip you to shreds. Really messed up stuff. And so it's about these people living in this town trying to survive the night. And it goes back in time sometimes. It shows when the leader of the town got there to like change things. And it's a really interesting mystery kind of show. I still don't know what's going on. It's only been 1 season, so there hasn't been too many reveals. Very, very cool. Some pretty creepy moments. They do a lot of like the creatures look like people, but it's very uncanny valley. Like the way they look at you is kind of like it chills you to your bone. I really like this show. I binged it all like one go. From is my number 5 show this year.
Me?
Five,
Is it me?
Yeah, you
Is
can
it
go.
me
do
or is
that.
it Gary? Me. I'll throw out just really quick 2 honorable mentions that I had. Winning Time, the HBO series about the Lakers in the 80s. That is that's going to be an honorable mention for me. Did not make the cut, but I really did like that show a whole lot. And also The Rings of Power is not making my top 5, but I did want to shout it out here because I invested the time. I got some positives out of it, but it's just not making my top 5. My
It also
number
did
5
not make my top 5. Interestingly enough,
Interesting, John. I kind of assumed it would make your list.
I liked it a lot,
So,
but there are a lot of problems with it, and they're doing a bunch of recasts, and I hate that. I hate it. Don't.
well, my number 5 is Hacks, which is a show that I've talked about on here
Nice.
before. This is the comedy starring Gene Smart that is on HBO. And yeah, I've talked about this show at length before. This is when I caught up on the first season this year, just in time for the second season, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And I think it's one of the better half-hour comedies on TV. So, or on streaming TV, I should say. So that's Hacks. It's my number 5.
I think that's a great pick. Hacks is great. And it's especially a great show for comedy writers. There's just something, if you're one of the people who likes industry kind of shows that make you feel like you're a little behind the scenes, that's one of the really good ones. I like those kind of shows like 30 Rock that make you feel like you're part of the crew. My number five. Our Flag Means Death. Speaking of too much Taika, Our Flag Means Death is a pirate comedy rom-com that was on HBO Max, partly produced by Taika Waititi, but not directed by him, so it does not suffer from TMT, but he does star as Blackbeard, which is not who I would have cast, but ends up being really funny. The whole thing is the story of sort of a rich gentleman noble from England who gives up his entire life and abandons his family for an adventurous life at sea as a pirate captain, and he doesn't know the first thing about being a pirate captain, so he introduces things like the talking stick and quilting to help the crew stay nice and calm and motivated.
It's pretty funny.
And it's just a silly little show. It kind of reminds me of What We Do in the Shadows a bit, in how it's just kind of silly and pointless. It's where you have vampires doing things you wouldn't expect vampires to do. This show is very much pirates doing things you wouldn't expect pirates to do. I liked the first season. I don't know if the show will hold up, but that is my number 5 top show of 2022. Our Flag Means Death.
So I guess I bring number 4. Number 4 top shows of the year for me. Mine, I went with Sandman on Netflix. Sandman on Netflix. It's a beautiful show. It's very well shot. The effects are great. Yeah, it's very British. It is a very British show. If you like British television, if you don't, it might get to you. But really great stuff. I loved the portrayal of Sandman. I love the places they go. They actually, after the show wrapped, they actually released a couple more episodes later, which was interesting. And those were really good too. There's one where he makes someone an immortal, and it's all about him meeting up every 100 years or something with him at a bar. And it's just a really interesting concept. And it's very, I don't know, that one in particular is very Gaiman, and I liked it a lot. What's her name? Christy. Her last name's Christy. Brienne of Tarth is in this as well. She did Wednesday. Gwendolyn Christie. And she plays Lucifer in this. She's fantastic. Gina Coleman from Doctor Who fame is Joanna Constantine. They gender bend Constantine. And it's great, and I liked it a lot. It works very well. It's just a good show. I enjoy it. And I guess Popcorn Drew.
My number 4 is actually one that was on Jahan's honorable mentions. I put Stranger Things 4 here on my list. So Stranger Things 4 at number 4. Again, I had an interesting viewing experience because I came to this later than everybody. I caught up on the second and third seasons where I was behind, so I did a lot of binging. But I just had a great time watching Stranger Things season 4. I don't think it's perfect TV by any means, but I just had a really good time with it. I have fond memories of it. So I'm putting Stranger Things 4 here on my list. So Stranger Things 4.
I say that's completely fair, man. I really liked it. I just had my shows list was very strong. I'm more of a shows guy, and Stranger Things just missed it, you know.
Totally fair.
I slide in here with my number 4, an HBO Max show, Winning Time, about the Lakers dynasty. This one is starring one of my favorites, old ugly face. What's his name?
John C. Reilly.
Old John C. Reilly with his
ugly face.
Old John C. Reilly with his ugly face.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, no, he plays Larry Buzz, the doctor, realtor, sort of extrovert, outgoing owner of the Lakers that turns basketball from a sport into a show, basically what WWE is now, right? You get the fireworks and they introduce the cheerleaders and they would invite all the celebrities to come sit in the front row. So it's about that era of the Lakers with Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And from what the basketball stars have said afterwards, it's not entirely accurate. And some of them don't love the ways that they've been portrayed in the show, which makes me think that it might be even more accurate if they don't like the way they're portrayed. So maybe it's just coloring everybody in sort of a stereotypical light. But it's a fun show, and it's an interesting show. I recommend Winning Time, especially if you like basketball or sports stuff. You'll like it more. I'm not a big basketball guy. I'm not a big sports guy, but this, all the way it was filmed, there are a lot of sort of 70s style cuts and the cigarette mark at the corner, like when it's edited together. There are fuzzy screens and stuff. The way the camera shots are done, sometimes there's words that'll skip in the conversation, like they're taking a second shot and edited the conversation. So there's some really neat things in that I liked also that made me feel like I was watching a modern 70s documentary where I was sort of a fly on the wall in the room. Definitely recommend Winning Time as my number 4.
Good pick.
Yeah, it's a good pick. My number 3, I won't talk about a lot because we talked about it a lot last episode. Wednesday on Netflix, taking the world by storm right now.
Ding, 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 ding. We have a match. Also, Wednesday is my number 3. Ding, 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 ding.
Snap. Yeah, me and Gary both. Number 3 shows of 2022. Wednesday. Check it out on Netflix. It is worth the watch. I didn't think I'd be into it at all. I'm lukewarm on the Addams Family at best. I liked the Christina Ricci movies, but I just didn't think I'd get into this. I didn't think it was for me, but I was very wrong.
It was cool that Christina Ricci was in the show.
She was.
Yeah,
I was about to ask if she makes a cameo in it.
No, she's a character.
She's a character, yeah. She's one of the teachers at the school. And it's cool. I mean, it's got a little bit of Hogwarts vibe, so for fans of Harry Potter, there's something for you to get into. But it's a new school with, like, sort of vampires and werewolves and ghosts and stuff going on, so there's some, new intrigue and new lore to learn. There's, secret spells and secret summoning rituals, and there's just all kinds of magic and intrigue in this world. It's a nice...
It's really... I didn't mention this yesterday, but I thought it was really funny. The comparison I was making when I was watching it, I don't know if you guys watched those like Scooby-Doo movies where it was just Shaggy. Like Shaggy was the main character of the show, and like he had like that really hot girlfriend, and like he had to go compete in the race because he was a werewolf. No, there was they did some wacky racing stuff in a boat race, which was really funny. And then it was like he ran a monster school at one point, essentially. So it just reminded me of those, and it gave me good vibes because I really liked those movies growing up.
Wednesday, number 3 tie for Gary and Jahan. Drew, what did you put in your number 3 slot? Oh, tell us what's in your slot.
Tell us what's in there, Drew.
My number 3 show was Peacemaker, starring John Cena on
Hey.
HBO Max. Peacemaker made my list, a show that I look back fondly on. I actually had a great time watching this show, and it's kind of like when I watched it at the time, I was like, this is pretty good. And in hindsight, it's only gotten better. I really enjoyed Peacemaker, and that's why it sits here on my list. I liked it. Good show.
Well, you know what? I liked it more because it's my number 2. One of my favorite shows like ever. It was so good. John Cena kills it all the way in this show. Start to finish, this show is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's like The Tick but better, and it's just such a good show. I loved it. I loved every second of it. Not surprised it's in your number 3. I put it in my number 2.
You put it right in your number 2.
Right in my number 2.
Why don't you cram that Peacemaker in your number 2, and I'll tell you what my number 2 is all about.
Absolutely.
My number 2 is Game of Dragon Chairs. I'm talking about Game of Thrones Dragon Styles, the new one with the dragon folks and the dragon towers and all the dragon stuff. Game of Dragon Chairs, number 2 for 2022. I didn't have high expectations for this.
We have another match. This is my number 2 as well.
Snap.
I had
House
low
of the Dragon.
expectations for this. For House of the Dragon, I was super impressed with basically everything they did. I loved the costumes. I loved the sets. I thought the dragons were cool. How are you going to make me care about new characters? How are you going to do it quickly enough to hook us? They did a great job of sort of advancing us fast forward through these kids' lives and showing us the complex trauma that their parents had together to put them in this awkward position that's going to cause war for years to come. Great opening season. What a slam dunk. Absolutely loved it, especially because my expectations were, maybe I thought this would be in my 5 or 6 slot, right? This could have been an honorable mention show, and it was not. I thought Game of Dragon Chairs was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I put it in the same spot. I feel about it the same way about it as you do. You know, the conversation I feel before leading into it was, we're all still burned by the last season of Game of Thrones. Do we need this? I kind of started to be a little hyped for it beforehand because I just really started to think that they're doing more Game of Thrones stuff. They're going to make it good. This is their big franchise. I thought House of the Dragon was great. I think it's a feat in storytelling with the amount of the time period that they covered within one season that got up to the point in the story where I think they're really eager to tell more story. And yeah, I can't wait, the 2 years until season 2 comes out.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
The way that Game of
wait.
Thrones handled time jumps was one of the reasons that Rings of Power was so hard to watch. Because Rings of Power almost tried to show you what happened every week or every month or even every day for these characters. Where Game of Thrones isn't afraid to jump, 8 years into the future and just know that you'll catch up.
Yeah, they really gonzoed us and got to the good stuff.
I appreciate the way that they treat their audience. If you don't get it, then you can watch it again. They don't really spell it out for you, and I appreciate that. The audience is smarter than you give us credit for, and I like not being treated like I'm dumb. But before we get too far from Peacemaker, that's my number 1, boys. Number 1 is Peacemaker for me. Everything you said, Jahan, about it being like The Tick, man, those vibes hit me hard. I love the live action Tick. And I think the ensemble cast is what really sticks out to me. When I think back, I remember scenes like Peacemaker falling from the roof, 4 times and never sticking the landing. Just boom, 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 all the way down. Just
Oh
the
man,
worst.
that's the scene that was in my head when I said John Cena killed every second of this. I was thinking about that scene.
He's just the worst hero. He's just an idiot. His dad is such a hilarious, bigoted, hateable villain. And what a great role for the T-1000 to just come out of nowhere and just be this awful, hateable, white hood bad guy. The what's his partner's name? It's not Hitman. It's not Mercenary, right?
Kick-Ass?
basically.
Oh gosh, I'm mad that it's not coming to me. Vigilante.
Vigilante. Yeah.
Vigilante is
Kind of makes the show.
Yeah, I mean, without him, how it would be still funny, but just not quite there. I mean, it's just from the entire cast. You need everything working.
Yeah.
Obviously, James Gunn did it right. He made Suicide Squad, and then he made Peacemaker, and then DC said, "Okay, that's our guy." And I think Peacemaker is the reason for that. Suicide Squad was good, but Peacemaker is just icing on the cake to pull these characters basically out of your ass and make stars out of them. James Gunn has magic, and Peacemaker has James Gunn magic all over it.
He has
The
a
way
very
that I
specific magic, and it's interesting.
It's the way that I think that there can be such thing as too much Taika and that it can ruin something. I think we are soon approaching the era of too much Gunn. And I think that we'll reach an era where the James Gunn stuff is campy and bad and we're used to it. But Peacemaker is probably his height and like golden baby child of what he's going to create. Time will tell, but I'm really high on Peacemaker. I can't imagine Judo Master. You know, Judo Master flicks flaming Cheetos into his eyes. Like, come on. That
Judo
show
Master
is
hilarious.
All right.
Every part of that show is hilarious. No, yeah, I could talk about Peacemaker for... It was almost my number one. Peacemaker.
But when I watched it last year, when I watched it in January, I made a mental note that this is the best superhero thing to come out this year. And I thought it was funny because it was January. But I made a mental note because that was my comparison. What else comes out this year? And everything else, Thor and Black Panther and Doctor Strange, they all pale in comparison to Peacemaker. It was just such a joy to watch. It was so fun. Good. The story was interesting. It's just,
if you haven't seen Peacemaker yet, you're missing out. One of the best things that came out all year for sure. It was almost my number one, but it lost out. I actually had a lot of trouble with the end of this list. My number one was House of the Dragon. So boom, I liked House of the Dragon just a little bit more. I guess I don't know. It's hard to say because Peacemaker really was one of the best shows of the year, just period.
Interesting to note, they are both HBO shows.
Both HBO shows. HBO got my 2 top slots, and then Netflix got the next 2, and then Stars. Weird, but yeah. House of the Dragon killed it, loved it. Wasn't expecting much, just like you guys. I agree with pretty much everything you said. The action was crazy. The dragons were good. I loved Matt Smith. I loved all the characters. I loved everything. It was great. It was my favorite show this year. The fact that we have to wait 2 years hurts. Like, I really want it, but as long as they make it good, I trust the process.
My number one is The White Lotus. The second season actually just wrapped up a couple weeks ago, and yeah, I loved it. I watched the first season and I liked it a lot. It actually was on my top 5 list last year, but not at number 1. But I liked the first season. You know, it kind of presents this murder mystery like in an abstract way, and that's kind of what motivated me to get through the first season, as I wanted to know the result of the mystery, and the characters were interesting, and there were a lot of interesting themes. The second season takes all of that and just goes bigger and better, and the characters were so good that while you want to know the result of the murder mystery that's behind it all, I think the characters keep you interested in the show regardless. And I just thought the second season expanded on everything the first season did and was better. The first season is really is a lot about money, and the second season is way more sexually charged. So a lot of interesting drama, shot really well, well acted. I loved it. House of the Dragon wrapped up, and then the next week the White Lotus premiered. So I've literally spent the last 16 or 17 weeks on Sunday nights watching HBO. So that's HBO, good stuff.
HBO again for your top 2 slots, I think. And it's got actually 4 out of 5 of my slots were HBO shows. And actually Wednesday.
That's the same for me. Hacks, Peacemaker, House of the Dragon, The White Lotus are all HBO or HBO Max. Stranger Things was the only one that made my list that was a Netflix show.
I got 2 Netflix, 2 HBO, and then 1 Stars. Weird enough.
Yours is nice and spread out. I like that yours is spread out, but I guess my taste speaks to if you can only afford one this year, by HBO.
HBO does kill it. They made some questionable decisions lately, and the Warner Brothers upheaval is upsetting, but they're still definitely top tier streaming service. I would agree. Who has the better dance, Gary? Wednesday or Peacemaker?
Probably Peacemaker.
The Peacemaker dance is pretty good.
Yeah, probably Peacemaker. And I think, here's a good point. Here's too much James Gunn already. That Peacemaker dance, remember how good, like how viral they wanted it to be? Like they wanted it to just catch on and be everywhere, and instead it was just pretty funny, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's going to be the signal of too much James Gunn is trying to force fun. I thought the musical dance intro for Peacemaker is really funny, but that should have been like, 20 seconds, maybe. Not a minute and a half.
I appreciate the full minute and a half. I do like the Wednesday dance is much more viral though. Oh yeah, Drew, but I also actually just finished the first season of White Lotus. I liked it.
Good. The second season I feel like is even better.
We've talked about movies. We've talked about shows. The only other thing that the three of us have in common, other than knowing the English language, is that we all play video games.
Okay.
So let's talk about our top 5 video games of 2022.
Which actually I did when I messaged about this. We were talking pre-show. I did say it could be video games or board games, and I'm just curious, Jahan, did you put any board games?
I just kept it to video games.
Okay, just curious. Okay, so then it's top 5 video games. Never mind. Remove that note. I'm not editing it out. Just pretend you didn't hear it.
Just pretend you didn't hear it.
So before we get started, I have an honorable mention.
Go for it.
That was an absolute letdown, colossal, grade A, poop-ass piece of crap that is so bad.
I know what it is.
It bears mentioning.
Saints Row!
It is the reboot of Saints Row. Jahan was lucky enough to get a refund. I let Volition keep my money because I like the things that Volition has done historically. But my God, is Saints Row just bad.
It's poop on a plate. Yeah. They told you to eat it.
It's just every part of it.
Graphically,
every single
gameplay, story.
Every part of it. Every part of it. Every single person in every single division, from the executives down to like the building's janitor, should feel bad about their contribution to that project.
I did not like Saints Row at all.
So that's my honorable mention. 1 out of 10, absolute poop ass.
I got a refund. That's my review of it. I asked for my money back.
Yikes.
I was given my money back. If that's an even better indictment of how it goes. Really love the series, but yeah, that one let me down. I have some honorable mentions. Really just quick. Marvel Snap didn't quite make my top 5, but I've been loving it. Have to mention it. And then also, they just ported Spider-Man to the PC. I finally got to play it. All you PlayStation people, I know that you had gotten to do it. This was my first time. I beat it. I loved it. Loved every second of it.
It's a really good honorable mention. I like that. Your heart's in the right place on that one. That's a good honorable mention. That's a great game that's already been out that just came to PC. Hey, good call.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad you put it in your honorable mention. If you'd put it in your top 5, I maybe would have argued with you that it wasn't a 2022 game, even though I know it just came to PC this year.
Beautiful
so I'll allow it.
That was kind of my thinking. I'll kick it off with my number 5. Number 5 of my top games of this year. Free on Game Pass and free on all mobile devices now. Vampiric Survivor. That game is crack.
I've heard this game ever since you mentioned it to us a while back, and I know this game's gone super viral. Like it's been on best of the year lists. People love this game. man.
It's fantastic. I love it. I was playing the crap out of it last night. There's so many unlocks. They actually just released a $2 DLC that has new maps, characters, weapons, all that good stuff. But essentially, if you don't know about it, it is free on Game Pass, or you can pull out your phone right now, download Vampiric Survivor for free. The full game on your phone. So it is a retro game. It's a top-down. It's kind of it's a twin-stick shooter, but you don't get to choose when you shoot. The weapons just automatically go off periodically. Like if you pick the dagger, you throw a dagger in front of you, whichever way you're looking, every few seconds. And all the weapons work like that, and you level up by killing the monsters that are just swarming you nonstop on this just ever-expansive, never-ending map. And you see how long you can survive. I think my record is like 25 minutes. And
progress transfer, if I play it on my mobile device and on my Xbox, will the progress keep?
I don't know about that. Maybe. Because I was surprised when I put it on my Xbox, my progress from my PC was there. And I didn't even have to do anything. It just knew and automatically transferred.
I would guess that when you're playing on your phone, you're playing through your iTunes account, because those are linked whenever you get a game from the store. And if you're playing like Jahan played on Game Pass, but then played on Xbox also, so those are just linked Game Pass accounts.
Yeah.
So I would guess the cross progression from your phone to your Xbox is not possible.
Okay.
But maybe. I don't know. I was surprised that it worked so well from my PC to my Xbox, but yeah, Gary's right about, Game Pass. I love this game. It was really fun. I just played the crap out of it last night. And it was a blast, man. You just get to mindlessly kill all these creatures. There's a lot of strategy to how you build what you have. And it is a roguelike in where you do progress as you play more. You unlock more weapons, and you can get upgrades that you start with to make to be able to make it even further. So, very fun. Drew, what's your number 5?
My number 5 video game of the year is... I kind of surprised myself when I was making my list, but I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to put this here at number 5. It is Stray. This is a game that is on... I played this on PlayStation. It was part of the PlayStation Plus expansion. I think that it's going to come to Xbox at some point after its, exclusivity window on PlayStation. But this is a game where you play as a little kitty cat. And you're in a town full of robot people, and you're a little kitty cat, and you go around being a little kitty cat and jumping around doing kitty cat stuff. And it's super atmospheric. It's a story-based game, but you see it through the perspective of a cat. And I love this game. It's short. It's a pretty quick play. I think you can beat it in just a few hours. But I really enjoyed my time with it, and it looks really good.
That
so that's my
sounds
number
like
5.
something I would really like. It makes me want to pee all over my pants. I like little kitty cats.
Yeah, it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of like, where robots or AIs take over, but there are still some life forms. And yeah, you're a cat and you kind of explore and progress a story as you interact with robots. It's really good. And the cat gameplay is strange and feels very cat-like in an appropriate way. It's an odd one to put on here, but I really liked this game.
I heard good things.
I guess that brings it to me.
Yeah, what's your number
And
5?
my number 5. My number 5 is a new release, and I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but I think I've spent enough time for it to make my top 5. In the number 5 slot is Warhammer Darktide. It's the follow-up to Vermintide and Vermintide 2. Then there's Darktide. So it's more swarm killing, objective completion, co-op, hack and slash fun. I've been playing an Ogren, so I'm this giant muscled beefcake boy with an assortment of bashing and chopping weapons, and just tearing through hordes and dismembering people with your friends is a lot of fun. The higher difficulties, they challenge you in ways similar to Left 4 Dead, where there are boss monsters. So you bump it up to a higher difficulty, and all of a sudden a boss monster will jump out and shoot you with a net, and then another boss monster will walk in the room and roast you with a flamethrower, and then your teammates are trying to get to you, and 2 boss monsters pin them against walls while they're getting shot with nets and lit on fire. So the difficulty goes from 0 to 10. There's a huge learning curve, but I do think Warhammer Dark Tide is on my number 5 slot for video games this year. It's available on PC. It hasn't made it to consoles yet, but it is free on Game Pass for PC and will be free on Game Pass when it comes to console. Initially, they had the date listed in November, then they changed it to December, and then they refunded everybody and said date to be announced. There has been some pretty choppy PC issues with frame rates and things like that for different people with higher settings. So I'm guessing a lot of that would have been affected on Xbox. They decided to delay the release until it was more clear.
I haven't had any of those problems, but yes, I agree. I also really enjoy Dark Tide. I'm surprised it's so low on your list. I'm really interested to see what your higher stuff is now.
This isn't why it's on my number 5 slot, but just worth mentioning, my computer has blue screened like 3 times, and each time it's while I'm playing and it's trying to load the cutscenes. Like whenever it loads a cutscene, it loads you into a different instance and says, go to the so-and-so to watch the scene. Yeah. But my entire computer crashes when that happens. So that's, again, probably why it hasn't released across consoles yet.
Yeah. Haven't had a single problem yet, but you and Aaron both and Kiana even started having some issues too.
Well, and like Vermintide, both games, they've built on them and expanded. The longer they're out, the more classes come out, the more bad guys come out, the more levels, the more gear. So it will be the same way for Warhammer. It will be worth revisiting in the future. But the way that Fat Shark builds their games is so that they can be expanded on by listening to what the community has to say. They've done it for many games in a row now. They're continuing to do that. So it doesn't feel like a full game because it isn't, because it's not supposed to be. So it's a weird thing to complain about, but you can't put it higher up the list until more content comes out.
It's fair. It is worth mentioning that this is not a $60 game. This is a $40 release. And it is a hoot and a half. I guess my number 4, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
My number 4 for games of the year. My number 4 game of the year, Cult of the Lamb. This game, really, really enjoyed it. My older brother, I had my eye on this game for a while, but my older brother played it and was like, dude, you got to check this out. And so I got it. You're a lamb you're sacrificed to dark gods because you're the last lamb, and if you're dead, then they can't be used against the dark power, something like that. But the one below all kind of saves you and inducts you into his cult and gets you to accumulate followers. So it's one part Enter the Gungeon, where it's a twin stick roguelike kind of thing where you're running around destroying the minions of these other gods, and you rescue followers, and then you kind of play Animal Crossing, except it's a weird demonic, where you can sacrifice your villagers and you can make them eat poop and stuff. It's kind of funny, but it's a really good time. The management parts are fun, and the roguelike parts are fun. It's a fun game that really came and surprised a lot of people. It was a huge game this year. I love that. Can't wait for DLC. I'm very excited for the DLC. And
I played Cult of the Lamb, and I liked it. And today when I was looking at my top 5 list, it would have been probably in my 8 slot or so, maybe even 7. It didn't quite make my top 5, but I can see how it did for you, and I know what you loved about it. And yeah, I mean, it's almost like Hades meets Animal Crossing with an adult dark themed twist. It's kind of funny and twisted.
Yeah, I know it's going to be on my list next year. Fucking Hades 2 will be on my list next year. But yeah, Cult of the Lamb was, it filled that void that Hades left.
Where you say it sort of remind you of Animal Crossing, it almost reminds me of Sonic Adventure Battles when you're farming the little creature guys, the little chibi creatures. You can feed them different foods and you can make them angry with each other or make them happy, and you can treat them differently and do different things to raise their levels and make their stats different. So it almost felt like that to me. It is this cool, fun management mini game. It's really
if you
enjoyable.
like Animal Crossing and sacrilege, check out Cult of the Lamb.
I actually liked the management parts more than the hack and slash stuff. I thought the management parts were really fun.
I liked them a lot.
There's lots of stuff to unlock and progress in a lot of different interesting ways.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts is that you can, after you beat a boss, it gives you the option to make them a villager. or to kill them. And I loved making the villagers. They always look really funny as villagers, and it's a great game. I don't know if Drew had played it, but it's a really good one. Drew, what's your number 4, bud?
My number 4 is Pokemon Arceus, the open world kind of new take on the Pokemon systems. That wasn't a perfect game by any means, but I really like all that it tried to do, and I wanted to include it here as a new release that I played this year that I really enjoyed. And I feel like there are some of the things from this game that have made its way into the mainline, the newest entry, Scarlet and Violet, that came out, but they're not fully there yet. They're still go mostly by the old school systems. But I really liked Arceus and what it's trying to do, and I think that it's something that can be expanded upon and made even better in the future. But yeah, I wanted to include it here on my list. I really enjoyed my time with it.
My number 4 is what we just talked about, Midnight Suns. And I wanted to bring up and talk about Midnight Suns. One of the things that I particularly like about it is all of the different character combos. So generally you play as 3 characters. Occasionally they throw you a 4th, or there's a scene where it's 2. But the 3 character combos and being able to mix and match all the different characters with sort of who's designed to be a tank, or who's designed to kick people, and then who's designed to create pits that those people fall into.
Yeah.
Using the terrain and tactics to your advantage, and having these sort of unwritten character classes and seeing how far you can stretch the different builds is just an absolute joy for me. That's what really draws me into card games, is just the replayability. You know, how many different ways can I do this and still win? What am I missing here to make this function at its best process? I love it. And I think Midnight Suns comes in at a 4 slot for me, because for the stuff that I love, it sort of equally has some things that I think slow the game down and slog it down to the point that I wouldn't recommend it to people because of those functions. Because of all the Abby stuff, I will not recommend this game to Thomas. If it was just the card battles and conversations without all the collecty lore stuff that's so time consuming, I think that it sort of doesn't lend itself to every gamer. It only lends itself to people willing to put hours and hours and hours into the game because of how many times you need to level and get duplicates and create and farm and grind. This is not a game for everybody. And that's what brings Midnight Suns into my number 4 slot of 2022.
Number 3. My number 3, we already talked about. I really, really enjoy it. Dark Tide. I'm a huge fan of Warhammer, all the lore, and all the trimmings. I love the games that they've made. Games Workshop's been putting out Warhammer games for almost as long as I have been alive, and I have enjoyed many of them. This is definitely no exception to that. I loved Vermintide 2. This is a nice continuation of that. Good 4-player co-op. Can't wait to see what else comes out for this one. A lot of fun.
My number 3 is Midnight Suns, Marvel's Midnight Suns. So I ranked this a slot higher than Gary. If you want to, we spoke about it pretty in depth on our last episodes. Yeah. Just go listen to that there. But yeah, I'm maybe it's recency bias, maybe not, but I really enjoyed this game and I put it here at number 3.
My number 3 game of 2022 is actually one that I wasn't sure it was going to make the list, and then I gave it a tie, and then I didn't know really where to put it, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And I don't buy every Call of Duty. I watch some videos before I buy a game, and I try to figure out kind of the pulse on it. And Modern Warfare 2 looked like it was not going to disappoint, and it hasn't. I've put tons and tons of time into this game recently. I love playing tier 1 hardcore ranked search and destroy, so we're doing objective squad stuff. As far as tactical shooters go, where it's one shot, one kill, and you're working with a squad, there's not a better game out. There's like Rainbow Six Siege kind of dominated that market for years, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 has taken that spot. Absolutely love it. If you're a big fan of shooters, if you like the Call of Duty series, this is another hit. This is not one of their flat-out face against the ground fails. There are just some things I would have liked to have seen. When you take the name Modern Warfare 2, I figured you would have brought back some of the classic Modern Warfare 2 maps like they did with the first Modern Warfare. They did not do that. They added some new water combat mechanics that aren't the best thing in the world, but I guess at least they're trying and it's fun. But the weapons are sort of the same. They haven't come far in the years. It's still SMGs, shotguns, battle rifles, a riot shield that can't be damaged from the front no matter what you do, and the guy's completely invincible. So there's still, the things you expect from the series. I will say that it has pushed me to actually add people on my friends list again on Xbox Live, which is not a thing that I do because I don't like to play with strangers and I don't like to meet people and I don't like to talk to people. But you need to in a squad-based game. You need to communicate. So I had to put it on my list and I had to put it in a high spot because it's literally forcing me out of my social bubble. And it's hard for a game to do that unless there's something special about the game.
Excellent. My number 2 game of the year. I'm going to have to slap some Elden Ring down here. One of the best games I played this year for sure. It is, if you don't like Souls-like games, this isn't going to change anything about that for you. But this game is a lot of fun. There's a lot of different characters, a lot of different ways to play. You can be a magic guy, you can be a sword and shield guy, you can be a two-hander, you can do all kinds of stuff. You ride around on your cool magic goat, or whatever the hell it's supposed to be, and you fight dragons and tainted old sleeping gods and corrupted mages, and I don't know, the world itself is beautiful. It's an open world. It's one of the best open world games I've ever played, for sure, hands down, no problem, definitely. And it's a very challenging game, and it's a very fun game, and it can be very rewarding. It can also be very frustrating, but it's definitely one of the best games this year.
It's kind of, I was giggling internally because Gary spoke about, Call of Duty kind of bringing him out of his social bubble and to play with other people, and my number 2 and number 1s are like definitively single player experiences. My number 2 is Horizon Forbidden West. So this is the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. This is a PlayStation exclusive open world game where you fight big robot dinosaurs. And yeah, I loved the first one, and I think I liked the second one even more. They expanded upon everything, made it better, and I loved it. It's actually interesting because I was playing Arceus when Horizon Forbidden West came out, so that is kind of what cut me off from playing Pokemon early in 2022 is when I switched over to Forbidden West. But man, it was super fun. So that's my number 2 game.
There is nothing I like more than beating people at games over and over and over and over. And the best way I've been able to do that effectively with my time in 22 is with Marvel Snap. My number 2 favorite game of 22 is a phone game. And I cannot stress to you guys enough that I don't play phone games really. I don't really download phone games. Maybe I'll play them for like a week and then totally lose interest, like straight from like 10 to full stop. I'll go from loving a game to hating a game. Marvel Snap, I play for like 4 hours a day minimum every day, and sometimes like an unhealthy amount, sometimes like 9 hours a day. I just can't help but play this game and make new decks and play more and make new decks and delete all my decks and create new decks and then play Marvel Snap some more. I can't have enough cards. I can't have enough builds. It's just not possible. Marvel Snap is one of my favorite games of all time, and definitely, without a doubt, my favorite phone game, my favorite mobile game of all time, Marvel Snap. It won Game of the Year for phone games, so I'm not crazy. But I feel crazy for loving a phone game so much. So 2022, Marvel Snap in at my number 2 slot.
I also play a lot of Marvel Snap, and that's why I honorable mentioned it. You're not crazy. It's really good. I guess number 1. So my number 1, surprising to no one, it's a game that was pretty much...
Number 1.
Thanks, Gary. My number 1 game, surprising no one, is the game that I'm pretty sure I wished into existence. In Midnight Suns, I'm a huge tactics guy. I love tactics games. XCOM 2 was one of my favorite games of all time. And then the creators of that game decided to get a Marvel license and use specifically the obscure occult characters to do magic stuff to make a card game. All of these things are things that Jahan would put on a wish list for a game. I swear, I wish for this game to be
it's
created.
like you rubbed a magic genie
It
lamp
is.
that was a Mountain Dew that they found in like a nerd's lair.
Every second that I spend playing this game, I'm like, I did this with like my heart. I believed hard enough, and now I get to play this game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Midnight Suns. It's not. I understand it's not for everybody. Definitely, it just checks every single one of my boxes.
That's
period.
the weirdest thing when I talk about it is I can't recommend it to anyone except for Jahan, and he's already got it.
I already got
That's
it.
all I can tell people.
I told you to get it. Yeah.
I just don't know if you're gonna like it. Only Jahan should like it. Like it's I don't know what to say.
If
it's
you're
great.
if you're into
It's
tactics
so great.
games, this is a top tier tactics game. If you love Marvel, I'd say maybe give it a shot. But you really got to enjoy it. If you don't like turn-based tactics games, I mean, this actually could turn you to it. It is that good. But
I mean, that's me. I don't mind turn-based tactics games, but I find it hard to get into them. Like, I played the prologue or the first few levels and that are easier, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. And then as it gets harder and you have to use more strategy, I'm like, I don't want to use my brain. Midnight Suns hasn't been that for me. I really enjoy it.
I don't love turn-based games, but I do love card games, which are sort of in, turn-based by definition. I go, you go, I go, you go. But they're different. I'm not a big fan of the original Final Fantasy series or how those kind of play and how those work out. But I am a big fan of this format for Midnight Suns.
yeah.
Jahan, what difficulty do you play Midnight Suns on?
I play it on normal.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I know you're such a tactics guy. I didn't know if you played on harder difficulties.
I'm going to be playing this game for such a long time. I'm going to beat it and then I'll play it on hard. I will beat this game on hard.
Drew.
My number one game of the year is God of War Ragnarok.
Okay.
I absolutely loved it. It's between God of War Ragnarok and then into Midnight Suns is a big reason why I haven't watched nearly as many movies in the past month or so as I normally would, because I've been putting a lot of free time into these games. But God of War Ragnarok, just, man, I've said this before. God of War, the 2018 one, was probably my favorite game of the entire last console generation between the PS4 and Xbox One. I loved that game so much, so to have a sequel now, I'm loving it, and it's just as good, if not better. They've expanded upon everything. I loved it. I platinumed it on PlayStation 5. And yeah, give me more of these. It's early in this console generation, the PS5 and Series X generation. You still can't even get PS5s easily, and I already feel like this one's going to be hard to top for me in this generation as far as just single player story experiences with great gameplay. And yeah, really loved God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, I'm happy that they're releasing those things on Steam now. I just picked up the first Horizon game on Steam, and I'll probably pick up the first God of War in this sequence or whatever, the 2018 one soon.
I highly recommend it. I gave it my highest recommendation.
Hell yeah.
Had the absolute joy of playing like R-rated shooters when I was growing up. We had Duke Nukem, where he had, was foul-mouthed, that could fly around, and you went to the titty bar and you killed all the aliens and you saved everybody. And then a few years later, I had Conker's Bad Fur Day, where you have this hilarious, cute character that no one ever gave a shit about, and Rare sort of gives everyone the middle finger and makes this adult-centric adventure game that was just side-splittingly hilarious while also being fun and challenging and having a totally knockout multiplayer mode. Conker's Bad Fur Day was just a hit. And I don't know if they knew what they had done at the time. But I feel like fast forward all these years and there really hasn't been another Conker's Bad Fur Day. And there's been a couple of Duke Nukems, but they just fall flat, and they're not what they used to be. There's nothing that really fits this niche of these sort of games for adults or games for angsty teenagers that are just full of comedy and brutality. And High on Life is my number one. It is from Squanch Studios. It's a Justin Roiland game. It's got his voice all over it. If for some reason you like can't tolerate Justin Roiland's voice, then you're not going to like this game. If you do like it, then you'll love this game. He does all the commercials, a ton of the background characters. Justin Roiland voices the guns. It's just sort of a highlights of if Rick and Morty were a shooter and you were Morty. You're a 15-year-old kid. They throw a bounty hunter's gun into your hand and say good luck. It's just side-splitting funny at every turn with these characters that you just want to see more of these all these one-shot characters. There's an ex-alien mercenary living on your couch who has 3 eyes, and one of his eye stalks is like busted and falling over, and his eyes all black and nasty. But the other 2 work just fine. He's got no legs, so he's just chilling
Yeah,
on
I
your
forgot about
couch.
that.
Just chilling on your couch with no legs, making a wreck of your house. Every time you come back to your house between missions, you notice the scene has changed a little bit. Like he'll knock over all your furniture so he could make room for his alien tech, or there's alien crap all over the fireplace. Literal crap, just poop, shovels full of alien poop. He always argues with your sister and calls her your mom, which is a funny ongoing thing. You kind of have to get in between their arguments in between missions and make decisions based on who's right and who's wrong. The house ends up having parking tickets on it because you just teleported into the middle of this alien city, which feels alive and colorful and just so rich and vibrant. The game is such a hit. The music slaps, the characters are funny, it looks great, the puzzles are engaging. There are these events that you can teleport in that are one-time events, and there's one called Cutie Town, and it made me just ruffle. You guys know it when you see it. I don't want to spoil it because the game is so new. But my brother even texted me and was like, "Bro, have you been to Cutie Town yet?" And I just started laughing. I laughed my ass off. When I teleported in Cutie Town the first time, it was funny, and then I teleported in later and just handed Annie the controller and was like, "Here, check out this game. Check out Cutie Town." And she was rolling laughing. It's just the game can't stop being funny. It has terrible B movies in it. Whenever you unlock the movie theater, I got a diamond achievement called "Can you believe we paid for the rights for all these?" It's just that the game, it knows exactly what it is, and I'm the target demographic. If you're 14 to 30 and you're an idiot, you'll love this game. High on Life is my number one game of 2022. Single player. So weird coming from me that it's a single player adventure game with no multiplayer in sight. But I think Squanch Games can do great things. I think this is just like you don't watch too much Taika. I think you can get too much Justin Roiland, and maybe he should pull back a little bit on his next project. I think he's very funny, but the market's had a lot of him. He's been a pretty oversaturated.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it might have made my list too if I had had more time with it. I just haven't. It's brand new. I also recommend that game. Check it out. It's free on Game Pass. Check it out. But damn, so those are our top movie, shows, and games for this year. It was overall a good year for just media in general. Lots of good stuff. I had a lot of fun with all the things I watched and played. Very high on the end of the year with games, for sure. And I'm definitely excited for next year. There's a lot of stuff on the horizon that I'm excited for.
I was legitimately surprised to see, and they didn't hit for me, and I guess it didn't hit for you guys, but no hits from Disney Plus this year.
Yeah.
Where last year I think we were really high on Mandalorian. This year we're not so high on, what is it, Book of Boba? Did that come out early this year?
Started around Christmas time last year, so I think the majority of it aired this year.
Then
but yeah,
there was Obi-Wan, and then there was Andor, and those I thought were...
Oh man, Andor! I should have mentioned that. I actually really did like Andor.
But that's I just wanted to mention that Disney did not dominate our lists this year, but in the past they have with things like WandaVision and Hawkeye and stuff like that.
Yeah, we just had a really strong year with the first year of MCU shows between, like you said, WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye, even Falcon Winter Soldier. I think was probably stronger than the Disney Plus shows this year. I mean, Moon Knight I had mixed feelings on. Miss Marvel I thought was okay. She-Hulk to me was probably the best of the Disney Plus
I really
Marvel
like
shows this year.
Really like She-Hulk. Really liked Andor. Didn't really like Obi-Wan very much.
I was higher on Obi-Wan than both of you, but it's not enough for it to make my list here.
He was higher on Obi-Wan than Andor.
And then I've also been watching Willow, but it's still ongoing, and I've actually liked it so far.
I tried to watch 2 episodes, and that show is just bad. It is written so badly. It's like a 15-year-old group of drama students wrote that show. Oh, man.
It is not on my list, but I like it so far. I'm willing to see where it goes.
It's a fantasy show, but they all use, like, modern speech, and it's really unsettling in a bad, bad way.
Huh.
I have not.
All right,
checked it out.
that's it. Now that I'm done crapping on Willow, I don't think I have anything else to say.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, so I mean that was our year. I look forward to 2023. Please keep watching and keep seeing what we get up to and what we talk about. Hit us up on Twitter with anything that you think. I'm gonna try and put our lists. I'm gonna try and make a graphic again and put some stuff up for people to look at. But yeah, I've been Johanan, and this has been 2022 for me. I at RockFact on Twitter.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Box and Fresh Out the Podcast. If you like tabletop role-playing games, or you just want to hear what kind of stories Jahan and I tell, come check us out Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at twitch.tv/Johananon, or type into your Google machine Fresh Out the Box TTRPG, and you'll find us in no time, lickety-split. You can find me at Casualty CDG on all the social medias. I'll be there doing my thing. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you in
2023. Yeah, I'm Drew Munhausen at Drew Munhausen on Twitter. This has been episode 70 of Fresh Out the Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Happy New Year and stay fresh.